Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 65. I'm your host, back in the basement to talk some wrestling with my co-host and teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hi. Do I have permission to play the Execute Order 66 clip next week?
Oh, next week? Sure, if we can find it.
All right, sick.
How are we going to get that in there?
I will just put my phone up to the microphone and play it, and if you don't get the reference, then I will hunt every one of you down.
Wow, he will not, but he'll be disappointed in you, at least, shall we say.
We're almost there.
Right, we are almost at episode 66, but it's episode 65. Thanks for joining us if you're a new listener. Thanks for coming back if you're a return listener. If you'd like to contact us, fnswrestling@gmail.com, fns_wrestling_podcast on Instagram, or leave a comment in YouTube if you would like. I promise we will get back to you. Well, for me, it's going to be another tired Saturday, right? I was up, another poker game broke out. It's almost like it's a normal time. But anyways, one of my colleagues and friends is about to move across the country in a couple days. So he hosted his last hurrah poker game at his at a cottage out not too far from us. So a few people went out there last night. A lot of fun. Late night, though. Got home. Did you hear me come home at all? No, I got home at about 2:30. So went to bed at 3 and actually started watching CM Punk, Matt Sydal from Rampage at 3 o'clock in the morning and watched most of that. So nice. I may talk about it a little bit when we get to any other wrestling business. But what anything exciting happened to you this week?
No, I'm also tired.
You're also tired? Why? What were you up to?
I don't know. I was just up later.
Oh, I was right then. That was my theory that you were up late last night.
Yeah.
Like all of you were, or just you?
Mainly me.
Mainly you.
On purpose.
And today we're...
Mom told me to watch like one more show after they went up, and I picked the double episode of Goldberg's.
Of course you did.
And proceeded to watch another one after that.
I see. So you were up till what time?
Like 11:30 maybe.
Okay. Well,
which is not normal.
No. It's the weekend, so whatever. And today we're heading out to your grandfather's, my father-in-law's, for some dinner, and I think your aunts and uncles are...
I've been at that house yet.
I have not been at the new house yet either, so that'll be interesting.
It is closer, so that's nice. I find my head feels a little weird right now, and I find that usually happens a lot after long car rides.
Right, so you're looking for... Yeah, it's not too long anymore, right?
Like, somewhat, like, just being in the car after a bit.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird now.
Yeah. So that's cut down by, I don't know, half an hour, I think now, less time to get to Grandpa's house. So
yes.
So it's going to be a bit of a different week for us. There's going to be adjustments because we're recording this on Saturday morning.
I believe next week's is also Saturday Night Dynamite.
Is it?
I think so.
So because of Saturday Night Dynamite, obviously that won't be included in the show today, but I imagine maybe we'll sit down tomorrow and quickly talk about it if we can and put out. I think last time I did it'll be like an episode 65B sort of thing, right? Because that's what I did last time.
That sounds like what happened.
Yeah, and then so we'll get to AEW Dynamite tomorrow. So today we'll talk about our normal stuff other than that, and then probably come back at you tomorrow with some AEW Dynamite.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss before we get into our first segment?
No.
Nothing? All right, so let's get into talking about some wrestling officially with our first segment, News and Rumors. So taking a look at some ratings, first of all, we've got the Tuesday's live edition of NXT 2.0, drew 632,000 viewers on the USA Network, which is interestingly, I don't think this has happened before, the exact same numbers as last week. So no increase, no decrease. They earned a 0.15 in the key 18 to 49 demographic, which is up 15.38%. So I don't know, I guess at least the bottom line is it didn't get worse. The ratings didn't go down for the fifth straight week or whatever. They actually leveled off at 632. And then Thursday night's Impact Wrestling show I threw in there since we don't have Dynamite to talk about yet. Do you want to guess what I think we've played this game before. What do you think Impact gets for so they were down 19% from the week before, if that helps you. What would you like to guess their ratings are?
40,000.
Oh, you're mean. 89,000 viewers. So under 100,000. And in the demographic, what would you like to guess? So NXT was a 0.15. What do you think Impact gets?
0.05.
Very close. 0.03 in the demographics.
That's too nice.
So again, I don't normally cover Impact, and that seems like a very small number, but I think the majority of Impact's thing is like overseas viewers and stuff like that is where I think a lot of their revenue and a lot of their interest comes from. But anyways, I thought I would just include that to replace the Dynamite ratings that we don't have yet. So what do you have for us in news? It was a kind of a light news week, we thought.
It was pretty slow. The only thing I have is WWE has canceled all their December pay-per-view plans.
Oh, really?
So probably no TLC. It's believed to be because of that New Year's Day pay-per-view they're planning, the day one. So I guess any December pay-per-view would be too close in proximity, I guess.
I had not heard that. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess.
That seems like a pretty big change for them. They're usually pretty consistent about their stuff.
Yeah.
What do I have? Something about Roman Reigns, just sort of further evidence that he is definitely the company guy right now. He was made some comments about CM Punk that really just sort of reveal his status with WWE, I think. So he was in a conversation with Complex, the Universal Champion Roman Reigns directly addressed the idea of one day having a match against CM Punk. So some direct quotes from Roman Reigns. On a personal level, it doesn't do anything for me. That's not going to elevate me at all. He's older now. I haven't really seen a full match. I've seen a clip or two. And to me, a step or two has been lost. Then also, he got his butt whooped in the UFC. I don't think anybody really believes some 200 pounds soaking wet with no explosive bone in their body could ever really do anything to me. I'm 6'3", 265, a legitimate athlete who can throw some weight around. I'll throw him and pretty much the rest of that roster out of the club, no problem. They're just little brothers, you know? So, I mean, I just picture like Vince standing behind him nodding, right? As he's like ticking the boxes. Okay, so you called him old? Check. You called him small? Check, right? Like basically he's sort of spouting Vince's things, right? If you're not really big and you're not really young, then you're not much use to us. So this is Roman Reigns just being the company man, right? Like Rollins is, like Cena has been, where they're never going to say anything controversial. They're always going to reinforce whatever talking points. And I say that like I'm complaining, but that's probably good business for them to do. And clearly it's going to help his career. But basically to say like, he's not going to elevate me. I'm so far above him. He's too small. He's too old. And Vince is like, yes, 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 right? That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
I have nothing else.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to talk about the Queen's Crown tournament because I've read some things and heard some things that made me kind of laugh about it, right? So first of all, let's look at the field for the tournament as well as the records, which for the year, which I pulled up from cagematch.net, okay? So you've got Natalya. She does not have a winning record. Care to guess on her record? She's had a lot of matches at least.
0-57.
She's 18-23. Carmella is 4-20.
Yeah, because she faced Banks and Belair a lot this year, right?
And did not win very much.
No.
Liv Morgan in this prestigious tournament, she's 8-14 this year. Dana Brooke, she's 5-14. Toni Storm, she's 4-7.
Well, Are we including NXT for Toni Storm?
No, I think it's just main roster.
Zelina, really? She hasn't. I feel like it might be because I don't think she's had that many main roster matches, but
maybe it might include it then.
She sucks.
Zelina Vega, who's already advanced to the finals, right? Won 2 matches already. She's 3-10 this year. Dewdrop, the winning record.
What? Piper Niven.
Congratulations to her. She's 6-5. She's the only one with the winning record in the tournament. And your beloved Shayna Baszler, 22-28.
Right, and so the quarterfinals, or semifinals actually, sorry,
yes.
were Vega, who beat Carmella, and it was Carmella, and then Dewdrop and Baszler.
Yes.
And so out of the 3 that are left, I guess it's Baszler, Dewdrop, and Vega. How is it not Shayna Baszler?
I would hope it is, but I also don't know.
I literally cannot fathom how it's not Shayna Baszler, but then at the same time, they're so incredibly stupid that it could end up being Dewdrop.
And so clearly this is not the top tier talent in the division, right?
Other than Baszler.
So maybe then, if it's not top tier talent, they're giving them lots of time to showcase their skills in the matches, right? So let's look at that. Vega beat Storm in 2 minutes 13 seconds. Carmella beat Liv Morgan in 1 minute 33 seconds. Baszler beat Dana Brooke in 1 minute 25. Dewdrop beat Natalya in 3 minutes, and Zelina Vega in the longest match of the tournament so far beat Carmella in 3 minutes and 25 seconds.
And my thing is, I know why they're doing this, because it's like it's equality and whatever, right?
Yes.
But like, if they're not gonna do it right, and
this is almost more insulting.
It's all right, and there's other people that they could. I guess all the major ones like Belair and Banks and Lynch and Flair are all wrapped up with each other. But
right.
Like, then if this is the state of your division, don't do it right now. Like,
or if you're not going to, it's fine. So put the lesser names, no offense to them, in it, but let them really showcase stuff, right? But
or at least put them up against like some worthwhile names other than Shayna Baszler.
And so there's no major talent in this, right? No match has been longer than 3.5 minutes. It's 100% like you're saying. It feels like an afterthought, right? And the only reason it's happening is so that they can avoid complaints about not having a women's tournament because there's a men's tournament. So the result is, I think what you're saying, like the laziest thing they could possibly do, right? We'll fill it with a bunch of women that haven't really done much.
Just to say that like they're treating them equal.
And then we'll just get it over with. Like, your match is 1:25, go, right? Like, it's pretty insulting, I think.
Right,
And
I mean, I don't know how well the King of the Ring is doing, but it at least seems better. Like, there's like Finn Balor versus Cesaro, and like, well, I mean, there's also Woods, Jinder Mahal. But
and I looked up Balor Zayn, so just to get an idea, their first round match got almost.
No, that's.
Sorry, was it second round?
That's
so their match, regardless, got almost as much time of all of the women's matches I listed combined, because their match went like 10 or 11 minutes, and all of these matches added together basically comes in around that. So it's clearly just they're ticking the box of, yep, we ran a women's tournament, so you can't complain, even though it's garbage. It is garbage. So the only other thing I have came across that AEW owner Tony Khan has been crowned, I don't know how prestigious this crown is, the world's most loved billionaire, according to the 2021 Beloved Billionaire 100 from Money.co. So I don't know how reputable this is, but I thought...
He probably doesn't have a lot of competition.
Vince
sucks.
Well, Vince is on the list. So that, anyways, the comprehensive study found Tony Khan to be the world's most loved billionaire with a massive 38% of all social media mentions of the 38-year-old mogul being overly positive, more than any other person on the list. So I guess what they do is they look at all your mentions from social media and figure out what percentage of those are positive sort of posts, right? So his are 38%, which still means... I
will make sure to mention Vince McMahon negatively whenever I can.
But that still means 62% of his mentions are not positive, right, when he's talked about. So that's one of the takeaways here.
That feels like the WWE... chills though.
So Vince McMahon somehow ranked 7th on this list. So my question is, what does that say about billionaires if freaking Vince McMahon is the 7th most loved? It also comes down to people know who he is, people talk about him a lot,
and how many
right?
of his people are on Instagram mentioning him or whatever, you know what I mean?
And I hope that Vince hates that Tony Khan topped the list, because that would make me happy, right? That it bothers him a little bit. And Tony Khan has more money overall, because according to this, Vince is worth $2.1 billion, and Tony Khan is worth $8 billion.
Woo.
It's a ridiculous amount of dollars for anyone to have, but anyways.
That's them football cons.
That's right. So that is the only other thing I had, so I think news and rumors are done, yes?
Yes, sir.
So let's move into talking about...
Can we not?
That show that we love.
I think I will maybe push through for NXT to maybe after Halloween Havoc. Okay. I feel like at least that's a reasonable.
It is a reasonable.
Point.
And maybe we're just gonna have fun complaining about things every week too.
I do like to complain.
I do
but
too.
At some point, I have to stop myself. I feel like.
Well, because you're more negative than I am, and even though I love to complain, so when you're really complaining, I feel the need to try and balance it out and not be quite as hateful.
I do like to I don't know, but it's getting to the point where like it's so bad. I need to stop myself at some point, like.
Because you could complain about it forever and ever.
Right, and it's just like. I think it's going to hurt my mental state more and more every week I watch
Well, in case you're wondering what we're referring to, we're about to start talking about this week's episode of NXT 2.0. So the show starts out with Hit Row walking through the parking lot, I guess minus Ashanti Adonis, right? I don't even think I noticed at the time, but they pointed it out later that everybody but him.
They mentioned it here too. They mentioned it like a few times, I think.
So I don't know what they're thinking walking through the parking lot, right? Because that's a terrible idea.
That's an awful idea.
In
Did
NXT.
they have luggage? I don't even remember.
Oh, I don't know. But we do get Legato pulling up in their vehicle, so that is also the criteria, right? You have to be in your car.
Right.
So they basically attack and kidnap everybody in Hit Row except Swerve Scott, who they sort of leave lying, and Escobar is standing over him as he's sitting there. and sort of wishes him luck tonight in their match. Then Escobar gets in the SUV and they drive away with the rest of Hit Row. What did you think of this? I didn't even write down any thoughts on it. It was just
me neither.
A really quick open, right?
It was a thing. It was one of those weird little thingies that they do before the intro theme.
Yes, and no explanation of
fun.
where Ashanti is, I don't think, other than he's not there. And
I think he's just smart, and that's why he's not here.
So I guess this was their final way to push this feud and to sort of maybe explain Hit Row not being there to run interference and whatnot later in the match. So I guess it was fine. I don't know. We then get Joe Gacy is in the ring. He says that with the NXT Championship comes untold unbalance. So tonight in this safe space,
so he wants it.
Gacy says he'll be victorious over that walking example of toxic masculinity and championship privilege. He says he represents all of his snowflakes and will bring transparent inclusivity when he gets into the NXT Championship match at Halloween Havoc. Because if he beats Ciampa tonight, he's added to that match, right? So he's saying that he, and I guess that was the end of his promo. What did you think of this?
I didn't love it. It was just another promo with this. He doesn't really say anything new every time.
It is getting a bit repetitive. I don't disagree.
It was fine, but not great.
So, and also calling the people that he represents snowflakes, I think is insulting, right, to them. So I'm not sure.
Me fragile.
I'm not sure what to think because maybe that's an intentional, like he doesn't really represent the people he says he represents, and he actually sort of dislikes them or whatever.
Vince is an ass, and this whole thing's supposed to be offensive.
I don't know, but other than that, he is basically saying the same thing he said to Ciampa last week, and I think what you're saying too, right? He needs to sort of keep evolving this character, or it's gonna get stale pretty quickly. Like,
but honestly, I don't like it that much. So I don't even care if he does. I just want it to go away at least.
I think I don't mind his stuff as much as some people, and then he's actually okay in the ring too. So. I like Gacy a little, although I don't know where this gimmick is going, and I have little faith that they'll play it well.
Right, it doesn't feel like something that's really gonna take off, or that they will care about.
Right.
Especially if, or maybe it'll get organically over. I don't even think it will, because it seems to be pretty controversial.
Yeah.
But then that would probably kill off the gimmick, so I actually kind of hope that it gets organically over, and then they just kill
I'm still on the fence with it, right? I think there's some interesting directions they could go with his character, and I liked because my interpretation that he was trying to be this guy, but then he snapped in the middle of his match, but I don't know if that's the angle they're going with. So I think there's some interesting routes to go. I just don't think they'll probably choose one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Joe Gacy is taking on Tommaso Ciampa here. And it's a non-title match, but again, if Gacy wins, he's added to the NXT title match that's coming up in 2 weeks. So Ciampa kicks away Gacy's attempt to shake hands before the match starts. And then we get strikes by Ciampa and a short arm clothesline. Gacy hits a body block for a cover for a 1 count. Gacy hits a backbreaker for another 1 count, and then they flash to what are they calling him? Harlan, standing in the crowd, looking kind of like
stupid.
Looking kind of like the big guy with the freak accident.
Lars Sullivan.
There you go. Looking a bit Lars Sullivan.
He looks worse.
Maybe. So he's staring at the ring, basically. This momentarily distracts Gacy. So Ciampa takes over with chops and stomps in the corner. We get a running knee to Gacy's head, and Gacy has to escape to the outside. He hesitates to run Ciampa into the announce table for a second, it looked like. So I don't know if we were supposed to pick up on that. Like, he wanted to do it, but he didn't. And then that allows Ciampa to sort of capitalize. Harlan again is watching as Ciampa's chopping Gacy, whipping him across the ring into the ropes. But then Gacy sort of gets a back elbow in there. We get Gacy with a splash in the corner, a spinning Uranagi, and a cover for a 2 count. We get the lovely, beloved Forever clothesline spot by Ciampa after a commercial break. The air raid crash is escaped by Gacy, and we get a strike exchange with some boots and knees as well. Gacy misses a second rope moonsault, but counters the fairy tale ending into a roll-up for a 2 count. Gacy tries for his springboard handstand clothesline finisher, I think.
Handspring.
Right, but Ciampa shuts it down and hits his fairy tale ending for the win after almost about 11 minutes, which by NXT 2.0, it might as well be half an hour, right? So, what did you think of... Oh, sorry, at the end, sorry.
By NXT 2.0 standards, it is an Iron Man match.
Yes. Harlan takes out Ciampa on the ramp, grabs Gacy by the throat, and then Gacy reaches out and strokes Harlan's
caresses
cheek,
his face, yeah.
And the crowd chants "Who are you?" to Harlan, and Harlan just leaves, right?
He just runs off.
So I don't know. And then Gacy looks like he's trying to help Ciampa or befriend him, but Ciampa knocks him down and then leaves. What did you think of this whole shebang?
I thought it was a fine match, I guess. Nothing super notable or interesting. I don't care about the result because it affects nothing. It means nothing. Accomplished nothing. At least Gacy winning would have been interesting, but that wasn't going to happen. It was too short to really get going, much like many matches at NXT, despite being one of the longest matches, probably.
It is a lengthy one for them.
I don't even know what Harlan's thing after was, but he looks like an idiot.
He really does.
He also looked like an idiot after he ran off, after Gacy caressed his face.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right, no, he actually looks like an idiot, and then they made him look like an idiot as well. You know what I mean?
He physically, appearance-wise, looks bad.
His appearance looks bad.
And then his reaction was bad, too.
It just confused me and also looked stupid.
I guess they're going to say we're building suspense, but, like, I'm not really looking...
Do I care?
Right, I'm not... So I thought the match was pretty good, a decent showing for Gacy, right? He's one of the new ones that he can actually wrestle a little bit. So my main criticism would be that he got too much in this, right? Because he's still sort of the new inexperienced talent facing the grizzled veteran of a champion.
He's an indie experienced guy.
But I don't think they want us to know that necessarily.
I guess
But we know that, right? So I think it was a solid TV match and a decent opener for NXT 2.0 especially. I don't think it should be a surprise that it involved one of the few guys that has a lot of actual wrestling experience, right? So they're smart enough to go, this guy's actually wrestled a bunch, so we can give him 10 minutes. Because we'll see how long most of the other matches on this show are. Take a wild guess.
Will see
There's
that.
Like a favorite number, it feels
3.
like. Anyway, that is correct.
Nice.
The Aftermath was not an impressive debut for Harlan, I don't think, either. He didn't seem very intimidating, right? And he's easily controlled by, like, a light caress of the face.
Or it's like he was freaked out, but, like, still, it's like, I don't know, it's just weird.
And do we need another new guy introduced, right? Like, can we just...
Yeah, this is a really bad debut for him.
Why not let us learn something, anything about
anyone else?
Like the half dozen or 8 guys or whatever that you've introduced in the past few weeks. Like, just slow down a little bit.
And not even new guys, but do we really need another new big guy? Like, you already have stupid Braun Breaker. I guess Ridge Holland's on the way out, but...
Yeah, and I don't think Braun Breaker's really that tall, where this Harlan guy seems much more imposing, I would guess. I don't know, but I agree with you.
He certainly didn't look imposing.
It doesn't look good, and it's not like an interesting suspenseful to me. I'll watch it, like we're going to be watching it, and I'll be somewhat interested because I assume it'll be a joke. Right, like that's why we're tuning in next week, folks. So then, of course, we get
why I'm tuning in next week.
The stars of NXT 2.0, Toxic Attraction, have to come out. And Gacy, I'd made a note here, is kind of still in the ring, so it's that bleeding of segments kind of into each other, which I actually don't mind that.
I don't, but I feel like it just didn't... They did it, like, a lot here, and I don't know, for some reason here it just didn't really work for me. Like, this was fine, I guess, because...
Because there's no interaction there, and maybe at some point there will be when things bleed over.
They bleed this into the next match, and that just felt like they're just kind of mashing it together.
Yeah, it almost feels like a house show, right? Like,
right.
The next one's coming out as you're leaving because we just fill in the time. So Gigi Dolan says that Toxic Attraction came out last week with one purpose: to put an end to Raquel Gonzalez. But Io and Zoe wanted to come out and play hero and ruin their fun, so they were unsatisfied. JC then says if Io and Zoe want to lead the division by example and play by the rules, Toxic Attraction couldn't care less about those rules. They do what they want when they want, and what they want are the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. And they tell Io and Zoe their days as champions are numbered.
I think that logic is flawed, because if they take what they want when they want it, didn't they want the titles last time they challenged?
And they don't want them until a couple weeks from now?
Right.
So they're going to take them at Halloween Havoc, we're told.
No, Mandy Rose didn't want the title when she held the title.
Now she does.
No, in a couple weeks.
Right,
okay?
in a couple weeks. She's going to let it build.
Right.
So Mandy says they won't be the only ones successful at Halloween Havoc because she's challenging Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championship at that show.
Sad.
Raquel, she says, got lucky last week, but at Halloween Havoc, Toxic Attraction will all be wearing gold. And she says it doesn't matter what colored hair Mandy has, she's still the baddest bitch in the game.
She does suck, so that is accurate.
What'd you think about your weekly dose of Toxic Attraction?
Unfortunately, I don't think that's the bad she's going for, but she does suck. I thought JC Jane's hair looks better. It looks a little more brown, because I feel like last week is like that really unnatural black color.
Yeah.
Like, Cody before that dog collar match with
You're a
Brody
heel,
Lee.
darken your hair, let's go.
Right. But it was like, well, Cody wasn't heel, but like, it's like,
he's always been a heel, don't kid yourself.
Rather than like a natural black, it's just like really like just looks off.
Yeah.
But now it looks like more brown and more natural. It looks like she has some highlights. This show's so awful, like this is what I have to direct my attention to.
Their hair, yeah.
Mandy looks better too, as it looks like she showered with actual shampoo rather than maple syrup.
Wow.
Like her hair looks proper, I guess. I thought there's another crummy promo from these three. Their theme, their look, their members, their in-ring work, and their promo work is all terrible. Everything about them sucks.
Wow.
And they are getting at least one decent like segment per week, longer than longer than like numerous matches, even though they suck. The thought of all of them even challenging for the titles at Halloween Havoc makes me sick, let alone them actually winning, which I think there's a small chance, but I think it's don't think
like
it
medium chance. I think unfortunately there's a chance that all the belts go to these three. And then anyways, I'll talk about it.
Should have been Dakota Kai. God damn it.
So somehow this group manages to feel both completely contrived, but at the same time completely basic and unimaginative, right? Like, they're the typical mean girl group that offer nothing new, really. This is one of the few character types that WWE uses for women, and it's just lazy and uninspired.
They're not all blonde,
like, you're a group of mean girls. You think you're hotter than everybody. Go. Right. I don't even think these three did a bad job with what they're given necessarily.
I think they suck. I really don't like their promos.
So unoriginal, and so it doesn't really accomplish much. I see a better version of this in ROH with the Allure, and I don't even think they're amazing because, again, this gimmick has been done to death. But there's
I don't think Mandy Rose has ever been like a good promo.
There's just no depth to anyone on this show, right? They're all just saying generic promos that don't really seem to be directed at or focused.
No, we have to go back to these old, basic, and stereotypical characters.
So
this is one of the ones for women.
Again, this show feels like it's not really for adults, and me being an adult, it's a bit of a disconnect for me.
I don't even think it's for kids.
I think they think it's for. I think they think it's for like the teens to 25s
they definitely think
or whatever.
It is, but I can confirm it's definitely not.
So Toxic Attraction hasn't even left the ring yet before Zion Quinn comes out for his match.
Right, this is the one that felt kind of
right.
Like it's fine they do that sometimes because I thought they did it a bit before NXT 2.0. I remember like it. I liked it. It works often, but I don't know. Here it just felt too. It just didn't work here for me.
And then it's straight into a commercial break too. So
like, why wouldn't you just
go to the break?
I think that was part of it for me. Now that you mention that.
We come back from the break. We get a quick vignette about someone burying the past so they can start again at Halloween Havoc. And it's basic gothic imagery here with shovels breaking ground, an indistinguishable voice, clearly somebody talking through a voice changer.
Like the remember the hacker?
Yes.
On SmackDown. Oh my god, that never. I mean, it was basically all Lee with Retribution, but it wasn't like actually. Remember?
Right.
Like, that was. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, what did you think of this? And do you have a prediction of who it is?
I don't know. I thought this was fine. I don't know. I've heard that it's supposedly a debut, but
I think my guess, I told you in the moment, was Ember Moon, right? Because they've been hinting at this. Oh, she needs to get more aggressive, and she needs to sort of.
I don't think
change her image
because she did just job to.
She did, but
Mandy
that's why she needs to repackage.
No, but they like started with the repackage before that, and then she just came back normally.
So maybe it's time.
I feel like they would have just kept her off TV.
But the way this show's running, it seems like your thought that it's somebody new is more likely because they just keep throwing people at us, right?
Maybe it's someone else coming back to NXT. I can't particularly
Shayna
think
Baszler?
of anyone. Yes.
No, she wouldn't be doing
she's
the
in
gothic.
The tournament.
I thought the gothic stuff was kind of generic, but I always like the dark things.
I think that might just be because it's on Halloween Havoc, and I think it's just theme fitting. And I also think it'd be kind of stupid if it was Ember Moon's return, because she returned like last year at TakeOver.
I know who it is.
Who?
Shotzi Blackheart. She's coming back. She's gonna host. She just had her tag team separate. She got drafted to whatever show. That's gonna upset you.
That's so...
Because who's gonna host it this year? Who's like a spooky person that they could have host?
Yeah, but then like that's
Who's the spookiest on NXT
Why wouldn't they
right
just
now?
announce that? Because that's not really like much of a return. If
just,
she were coming back to the roster, oh god.
Part of that was just trying to make you suffer, but it makes sense too.
And then Ember Moon and then they're back to
in tag team,
and then they get to face Toxic Attraction,
exactly.
And I can
they
go
get
die
to job
in a
to
hole.
Toxic Attraction because they're amazing.
No, if that match happens, if I get Moon and Shotzi versus Toxic Attraction, I will literally go die in a hole because that is just terrible.
So we'll see who it is.
So crazy, it might just work.
I guess there's a little bit of intrigue because it's like, who is this person? And so I didn't hate this, to be honest. Among the things on this show, it was not the worst, shall we say. We then get the Zion Quinn Malik Blade super mega match that's amazing, of course.
I've been waiting for this for weeks.
So we get a shoulder tackle and a body slam. Take a drink. That's our new drinking game, is every time these people execute a body slam, circa
God,
1985, have a drink.
Their new favorite move is a body slam.
We get punch and corner spears by Quinn. Hard Irish whip ? For a Quinn near fall. Like that's a near fall spot now? Yeah. Chin lock by Quinn. Kick.
Malik Blade is a tough opponent, so it's going to take a lot for him to get to a near fall.
Drop kick by Blade. Miz corner clothesline before a missile drop kick for 2, and that's the end of his offense. Choke slam and the running forearm, and Zion Quinn
so stupid.
Wins in under 3 minutes.
Talk
about this 3-minute match. Go. Try and say something about it.
Okay. He hardly did anything that cool or anything that would indicate skill. He just did a bunch of generic stuff.
Correct.
And, just a lame power stuff. And the fact that he calls that running form a finisher is laughable and also embarrassing. It looks about as effective as me running and hanging in the face with a pillow.
Yes.
And I mean, even Karrion Kross did it better. And that is saying something, okay?
Zion
even
Quinn,
Karrion Kross did it better.
I'm sorry, Zion.
Like, it's literally like he just runs and puts his forearm up and it kind of just runs in your face. There's no, like, force to it at all. I mean, Karrion Kross has had a little bit of force.
I think that's a sign of how inexperienced this guy is, because it's like, you're this big, strong dude, and we can't trust to give you a power finisher. You just hit a running forearm. Like, I think that's probably a sign of how green, as they say, right?
And I don't even know if it's like, I guess it's the epitome of a running forearm, so it's just running and putting your forearm like at face level and then just continuing moving forward. Like, it's not even like you're like, it's not even like you're running and you're like cocking back.
No,
and, like,
it's just got his arm there and he runs through you.
Yes, exactly. It's stupid.
This is the new standard NXT match, right? 3 minutes, basic moves. 1 flurry for the jobber, finishing move pin.
This feels like it's like
that's what we're getting.
WWF Superstars or something with like the
a little bit,
squash matches or something, like, or like just like pre-Raw programming. Even early Raw like had a lot of this, but like just like before WWE had like a flagship show, this feels like that kind of stuff, like Wrestling Challenge.
And I don't mind a squash match if it's one guy showcasing the stuff he can do, but when the stuff you can do is the stuff
like
you learn in your...
like Tony D'Angelo for me, like when they really can't do that. And this will come up again later, because this is not the only squash here.
No, this will come up again later.
It just really accomplishes nothing.
No, nobody gets much out of this.
And I'm getting really tired of these stupid finishers that are just like mediocre. I was literally saying that one day I could like, there are a few key criteria points you need for an NXT 2.0 finisher. It needs to be a mediocre move. You need to make it look, it just needs to have like some sort of a minute amount of effect, and like, I don't know, it just, none of these people's finishers are that any good.
Because they're not ready, right? So we're watching inexperienced wrestler getting their reps in and trying to get better.
Even Braun Breaker's move, which is like it's like the military pressing of a power slam. That's just like essentially a power slam. Like, it just looks cooler, I guess.
But at least it's a little bit complicated. Like, they're not letting Zion Quinn do that right now, right? So, because Breaker's actually been wrestling for a little bit longer in training. So, anyways, it was what we're going to get on this show. So, Mackenzie then asked Tommaso Ciampa about his match with Braun Breaker at Halloween Havoc. Ciampa doesn't know what to think about Gacy, but it doesn't matter. He's dialed into Breaker at this point. He then starts to speak some more, but the grizzled young veterans come in, mock him a little bit, and then say they can't wait to see him lose to a rookie in Braun Breaker. Breaker then comes to Ciampa's defense, and the grizzled young veterans sort of back away. Breaker says he's standing by Ciampa's side until Halloween Havoc because he wants to beat him at his best, because Braun Breaker's the classic babyface right now, right?
What do you mean? I've never heard that before.
Where it's like, I want the best version of you to face.
Have they done that before?
Never. It's a brand new thing in wrestling. What did you think of this little
it felt pretty new
segment?
I can't believe they're about to make grizzled young veterans lose to a non-tag team where half of the tag team is Braun Breaker. that is very stupid, and it seems no one can get through anything anymore without an interruption.
Right.
Like, it's Impact Wrestling.
It's Impact Wrestling. This was fine, I guess.
I think they're better.
And they're really protecting Breakker, right? They're now putting him in a match with 3 good wrestling veterans, while the other new NXT talent are sort of facing.
I mean, Ciampa and Gibbs
other
are pretty
jobbers.
good, but James Drake's there, so I think Braun Breaker will be fine.
So I don't like the feeling that the grizzled young veterans are just kind of involved to help elevate Breakker, and there's no more depth.
Especially Breakker.
Like, there's no more depth to the story than that, basically, right? But that's what this show's about, right? Braun Breakker, Toxic Attraction. And just as an add-in, I still don't really like Ciampa in this role, right? Like, Ciampa being the, like, I don't know, the nice veteran looking to just take on all comers. Like, that's not the Ciampa I want.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm still mad that Dunn didn't win the titles. This is not the Ciampa that was cool as champion. This is literally the opposite of that.
I want the Sicilian psychopath, right? Like, this version of
and now he uses
soft,
Goldie as like
Ciampa.
A pet name for
right.
Like, it's like that. It used to have like it was
his obsession,
right?
Like an unnatural obsession.
Like,
and now it's like I like having it.
Right? Yeah. It's
my buddy.
This is my little friend Goldie.
Right.
Like, it's so dumb now, and I don't know. I guess. Like, if Dunn's stuck here, so I would like him to at least be champion. Cause it's different if he was on his way out, but like now I know he's stuck here, so I want him at least on top. But
and it's like Ciampa has to assume this role to help put over the young guys, and it's just that's not what I would have him do.
Especially because Braun Breaker's a babyface.
Right.
Have Ciampa like be a freaking coward heel.
No,
that almost might help Breakker more.
Anyways, it's all good stuff. So Ivy Nile makes her entrance. She does like a slow controlled dip in the corner, which I thought was a kind of a unique corner, whatever.
Oh yeah,
thing.
and so I know
she looks super cool.
Yeah.
I have to say.
And so I wrote this down when she was entering. So she gets her own theme, but Tyler Russ didn't get to use his when he was in Diamond Mine.
How dare they?
So I see how that, and he had his own theme already. He had one.
Getting upset.
And he had a singles match against Bobby Fish. I understand when he was tagging with Roderick Strong, they'd use the faction theme, but he had a singles match against Bobby Fish, and he already had his own theme. This is a new theme, so this is unfair.
How dare they?
Yeah. So his theme's much better.
So then we get some more talk from the commentary table of The Edge, Seth Rollins, and main roster talking points, and it's gross, and I don't want it. I liked when I could just forget that this was even a WWE show, right? It's just NXT, and I love it.
It's not. It's like,
and now it's
I
just
swear to God, one of the main parts of like the first half of the show is talking point about main roster.
Yep, they have to insert it. It seems like there's a certain time now where that's what we're gonna get.
Watch next time Edge is challenging for a title. Beth, what are your thoughts on Edge challenging for the? And it's also weird because she refers to him as Adam.
Yes.
Which I feel like that's kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. Ooh.
So Swerve is backstage with Mackenzie, who says no one has seen or heard from Ashanti yet, which doesn't really seem to go anywhere, right? Like,
right. Yeah, like, why is this such a talking point?
I don't know. So Swerve says his people are soldiers, and they'll want Swerve to focus on Santos. Santos is trying to bring the demon out of him, and it's worked. He promises he's taking the North American title to SmackDown, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Your thoughts?
Well, that's kind of stupid, because it's literally got, the title's got NXT in its name, but whatever. I don't know. I thought it was a solid promo. It was fine.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
I thought it was good, and he got some nice intensity, especially near the end, but it seems a little bit odd that he's doing nothing about his kidnapped friends, right? And he's just continuing to focus on his match, which seems a bit strange to me.
Rather than, I'm gonna find my friends. No, you made me angry.
I know that they would want me to not worry about them being abducted and to focus on... Oh, you really?
Do you?
Their preference doesn't become their freedom, becomes still you defending your belt. But anyways, I thought the promo itself was good, especially when he got kind of serious near the end. We then get Ivy Nile making her in-ring debut, taking on Valentina Feroz, right? I believe it was.
I also don't really like the rapid use of the same jobbers. Like, I know Malik Blade just jobbed, I think, to Tony Jr. last week, and I'm fine with them reusing jobbers, but I don't like he just lost. I don't want to see like the same jobber doing it like the immediately the week after. I want like at least a change up in the jobber lineup.
If they're gonna do nothing, you could have anyone do nothing. You could put in anyone.
It doesn't have to be Malik Blade every time.
We get some grappling to start, a missile drop kick that doesn't take Nile off her feet. Nile then catches a crossbody, turns it into a delayed vertical suplex, which was pretty impressive. Ivy then is sort of standing on Feroz's neck in the corner a bit later. We get a body slam, take a drink, by Ivy Nile. And then there's Remember this? This was amazing. So, Ivy's finisher is going to be the torture rack a la Lex Luger, right?
But it was really bad.
So they have a moment where she gets Faraz up, but then they realize that Faraz is going to be in like a fireman's carry position instead of flip the other way. So they literally have to like fix that and go back to it sort of and get her up facing the proper way. So it was a pretty unfortunate mistake that there was no way to hide it, right? Like, dude, you're supposed to be facing the other way. Put me back down and pick me back up again. So
right,
anyways.
No, it was weird because Faraz was elbowing her to get out of the fireman's carry, but then
she just flips onto her back.
Right.
Yeah. So Faraz taps out in less than, take a guess.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Maybe 3-minute warning. That's the whole, we're building to them coming back.
Yes, Umaga back from the dead. Hell yeah. Yo, I would... Yes, and that'll be William Regal's return heel manage manga.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
3-minute warning's coming because they're tired of every match being 3 minutes, right? You're basically summoning them. It's like Beetlejuice. Not that you've seen that, but you've summoned 3-minute warning.
That
so what'd you think of this banger of a match?
I guess Ivy looked fine, but again, like Quinn, she didn't do anything super cool.
No, I mean the delayed vertical from the.
Yeah, but I thought the finisher was really boring. Cause like it was a torture rack, but it was super slow and like just like at least Luger, he would like kind of like he was holding, he was like kind of jumping up to like, but then like she was trying to force her hands together, which I guess is kind of a cool visual, but she could never actually do it. Like that just
and she strapped
realistic.
It on upside down to start was a problem.
And it just felt really like a boring finish to me. And then I'll talk about the promo I guess after. But
so I could basically just copy and paste my notes from the Zion Quinn match, right? Like mostly a squash. The other person gets a little bit in, and then it's over. And I mean, Ivy's clearly a powerhouse, and she has a great look. But she's obviously inexperienced and is just relying on a few power spots for now. But sadly, even just her relying on a couple power spots puts her ahead of some other people, right? Who don't even seem to be able to do that. So it was another standard NXT 3-minute match. So after the match, Malcolm Bivens gets a chance to speak. He says that was a message, that match that just happened, to every woman here. And he says the pit bull has been unleashed. Ivy Nile is here, and she didn't come to play, nor have the Creed brothers, who are putting in work day in and day out. He calls them the most dominant tag team in NXT today, before moving on to the Cruiserweight champion, Roderick Strong. Strong grabs the mic, He starts to speak, but then, thankfully, Ikemen Jiro's music plays to stop Roddy from displaying his anti-charisma.
I was pretty happy when he came out, but haha, foolish me.
Jiro slides into the ring, and one of the Creeds gets a mic and asks if Jiro is for real. It was Julius. He says in the Diamond Mine, everything is earned, and he's always ready. So what is Jiro going to do about it? Jiro decks Creed and slides out of the ring. What did you think of this segment?
I thought the Aftermath promo was whatever. I don't like a possible Jiro versus Julius Creed match, because I don't think either of them should lose, because it would be Creed's singles debut and Jiro's jobbed enough. I think Jiro should only have lost if he was going to challenge Strong, which I thought was going to happen.
Wait till I give you my thoughts.
Why I was happy about this, but
and how smart I am. You ready? So I think Bivens continues to be a solid mouthpiece, right? That we knew he would be if they just gave him a chance. They seem to take a very long time to get to this point for some reason. Stopping Roderick Strong from speaking is always a good idea. And here's where I'm a genius. Ready? It feels like this might actually get Jiro a win before losing a title match to Roderick Strong. So I thought, oh, cool. Jiro's going to beat a rookie tag team guy on his own, get a win, face Roddy, and obviously lose. But that's okay. At least Jiro can finally get a win.
Jiro's the veteran. He has to lose.
That's why I'm smart, right? Because obviously that's what's going to happen.
That is obviously what's going to happen. That is so logical that it would have to happen.
So I thought this segment was fine, and I'm glad to see Jiro, because at this point I'm pretty confident. All right, the man's going to get a win, right? Anyways, we'll get there. So then we get the matches made. It's Jiro versus Julius Creed. They tell us that the match was officially made during the commercial break, because matches are just made willy-nilly by any means necessary at this point in NXT.
People power hat.
Oh my god. So Creed dominates with his power, throws Jiro around early. We get a power slam by Creed. Does that count for take a drink? No, I think that...
No, it has to be body slam.
Right.
I don't have
we
a
get
drink.
a delayed gut-wrench suplex.
I wish I had a drink, though.
By Creed, up kicks by Jiro, another suplex by Creed, missed elbow drop turns the tide, and we get the flurry of jacket shots from Jiro that takes him down, finally. We get a handstand corner splash by Jiro for 2, a moonsault to the outside by Jiro, and the crowd really does seem to respond to him, right? Jiro then gets caught and slammed before the diving basement clothesline for the Creed win after just over
3 minutes.
Correct. So Diamond Mine assault Jiro as a group after the match, but Kushida runs down to help. He takes out everyone until he nearly hits Ivy, and then that stops him momentarily, and Diamond Mine take over. Numbers game, am I right? And
yes,
they leave Kushida lying as their theme plays to end the segment. What'd you think of this match that I was clearly right in tune with, right?
Yes, you were so right that it actually didn't happen.
Right.
So no Jiro versus Strong, I assume, and Jiro takes another loss. Great, exactly what I wanted. At least Julius, I guess, looked pretty good in his offense on like the other 2 enhancement matches on the show, but I still don't love this because he looked fine, but
yep.
I don't love his finish either because it's like, I don't know, it's like a mediocre slam and then a basement lariat again.
Yeah.
Just like, you really don't need to be that creative in your finisher.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, he's not doing it standing. So that's crazy creative. He's sliding into a guy who's on the mat. Like, who's done that?
And the aftermath is unimportant. Like, good to see Kushida, I guess, but I don't get. They're probably just gonna drop to the Creed brothers. Who am I kidding?
Again, you can just pretty much copy and paste my comments from the previous 2 matches, right? Jiro maybe got a little bit more offense than the usual 3-minute match for the guy that's gonna lose, and again, Creed looks aggressive and he has a lot of kind of cool throws and suplexes, but so much for Jiro actually getting a win, right? I was hoping. My thought was he's gonna get dominated, but somehow he's gonna pull out a win and outsmart Diamond Mine, right? And that could lead to him facing Roddy and Roddy beating him and whatever. But no. So the aftermath was just a standard beatdown and run in that happens a lot in most wrestling show these days. So it doesn't really get a reaction from me much anymore. AEW sort of made me numb to the post-match run-in and beatdown, right? So
especially on the show full of nonsense.
Right. Raquel Gonzalez now gets her chance to speak. She says her title means she's the queen of the mountain. She's never ducked or dodged any champion, taking out champions, her former best friend, and future Hall of Famers. She tells Mandy that it's on for Halloween Havoc, but it has to be in the spin the wheel, make the deal, which seems really tacked on there all of a sudden. But anyways, what'd you think of Gonzalez here?
Well, I mean, I guess that's the Halloween Havoc.
It is, right? Yes.
But I wonder if Mandy will have a sudden hatred of wheels.
She might, because that's Johnny Gargano, right? Who's disappeared a little bit here. Yeah,
I heard his contract's supposed to be
early December. They can just keep him off TV and away he goes. But
yes,
anyways.
Sir. Yay. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to see this match. And Raquel didn't have to say they would spin the wheel. It's kind of obvious it'll happen for some of the title matches. They could just announce it, because I feel like that's a more natural way of doing things for them just to announce it on commentary or something.
Right.
Like, I don't know, I feel like it's really, we are going to do it in a spin the wheel, make the deal match.
Right. That she cares so much about that seems forced a little bit, right? I thought it was a good promo by her, and I'm surprised she's kind of still in NXT, because she's gotten so much better in the past year or whatever, maybe a bit more. And I think she stands out even more now that so much of the talent is really inexperienced. I'm kind of intrigued by the match because it could go either way, right? Like, Gonzalez is good, but I don't know if she's good enough to carry somebody. And I think Rose is a little bit better than you think she is. But this match could either be like, oh, wow, like that was kind of impressive. That was a good match. Or it could go real bad. Or you literally
barf.
Because then it's like, ooh, Gonzalez is not ready to sort of elevate somebody, right, that needs it kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm a little bit intrigued.
I don't think Mandy Rose should elevate someone because she's, like, supposed to be, like, she's, like, older than Raquel and technically more experienced. So it's kind of weird that
is true.
Raquel would be the one elevating, but I guess if someone's elevating someone, it's probably Raquel elevating Mandy.
Yes, because Vince just goes, look at Mandy Rose. Look at her.
Well,
look at her. She's a star. Look at her.
Well, and because Raquel is better. So, like, I don't think Mandy has the capabilities to elevate anyone.
No, probably not. So we then see Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner as they make their entrance before we head to a commercial break, and we come back to Lashing Out with Lash Legend. My goodness.
When I kind of listened to it, the opening theme the lyrics are so stupid.
I did not listen to it that closely.
I don't know. I just like as it was playing, I was kind of listening. It was just like some generic like I don't know. It was bad.
So she's getting straight to it. She brings up the WWE draft and says next year it's just going to be called WWE Squid Games. So timely reference, ding, right? Like, look, WWE is hip and cool, and they know what pop culture is right now.
I don't know. Squid Game looks stupid.
I'm gonna end up watching it, probably, but I think it's people seem to love it. So I mean, I know the premise of it. I haven't watched it yet.
I don't even understand the premise.
Anyways, so they're just making a reference to something that's really popular right now, right? That's their goal.
It is, yeah.
So Lash reveals that legends of the week of this week are Hit Row for being drafted to SmackDown, and she basically talks.
Didn't they mention that last week? So she's kind of behind.
She speaks highly of their theme song and gives it 2 snaps and a clap, which we're gonna get a lot of, and it's. And then her studio audience is there, like, just overreacting to everything. And I'm not sure if they think this is parody or if they think this, like, I don't know what this is. But anyways, so up next is the lashing out of the week. And she takes suggestions, with one person mentioning Tony D'Angelo wanting...
the producer, I want to say.
Right, to get on the show. Lash says, forget about it. And that was the segment that you loved? Talk to me.
So whoever came up with this, anyone who signed off on this, and whoever wrote this, they're all completely brain dead, which is my mental state after watching this.
Wow.
That is all. This is a bunch of rambling, nonsensical crap. And again, she's just shifting to a bunch of random things. A timely reference to show she's hip, and again, stereotypical sassy black woman.
And we haven't talked about this at all, but this I thought was really bad too. It's a really short segment. She switched topic many times, and none of them were interesting.
It's just short, but it's just so, like, all over the place.
And none of it matters, and the ridiculous audience made it worse. So
the audience makes it worse, absolutely.
And again, WWE worked in their We're So Current Squid Game reference. They shoehorned that in, and then some more main roster talking points. WWE Draft, right? So if I thought that WWE thought this was parody, then maybe I'd give it a chance. But so far, I don't think they do. Like, I think they think this is like a segment. And they're a waste of time. Like, I try to be not really mean or negative, but this is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Basically.
For sure.
So already in the ring, Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland taking on Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly. So Wagner dominates Dunne early, and Dunne has to escape to the ropes, and I have like ! Because why is Pete Dunne begging off early offense from this guy, right? Like, that's not the character of Pete Dunne. So the baddest man in wrestling or whatever is escaping to the ropes in the first 40 seconds of a match against a rookie. So not cool with that. Just
I really don't like
probably that. Being a little bit picky.
I love Pete Dunne and I hate Wagner.
So anyways, Dunne goes for a Kimura, but Wagner counters with a suplex and a headbutt. O'Reilly's in, lands a knee that forces Pete Dunne to tag out. So Kyle snaps Holland's arm over his shoulder, but Holland hits an overhead belly to belly. Dunne keeps control of O'Reilly, and the heels isolate Kyle and make several tags while focusing on his leg. Kyle eventually fights out, lands some kicks to Dunne, followed by a running forearm. We get a strike exchange, both men tag out, so we're left with the Haas fight now. They run the ropes and collide before Wagner takes Holland out with a diving shoulder tackle. Wagner sends Holland into the step shoulder first. We come back from a commercial. Holland is squeezing Kyle O'Reilly's traps as Kyle's sort of seated on the mat. Kyle gets a guillotine applied, but Holland tags out, slams Kyle before a basement drop kick by Dunne. Kyle gets a chance to tag, but Wagner is still back in the corner. I think the point is, like, can Kyle trust this guy? Is he really there when he needs him, sort of thing, right? Because Kyle's still skeptical about Von Wagner. Mr. Personality, as we'll call him.
Who cares?
O'Reilly counters a Dunne kick into an ankle lock, but Dunne tags out, and Holland beats down Kyle, throws him out of the ring. O'Reilly's about to take a move on the floor when Wagner runs over to take both of the heels out, so he's back just in time. We can trust him. This allows Kyle to get back in the ring. Hot tag to Wagner. He dominates Holland with a jumping knee and an angle slam, I think it was. Dunne tries to help, but Wagner kicks him out of the ring. Kyle takes out Dunne on the floor with a flying knee from the apron, and then Wagner hits his double underhook twisting finisher to Holland for the win in just under an epically long 13 minutes this match got. So Kyle and Wagner celebrate, as I guess now the idea is that Von Wagner has earned Kyle's respect, and I feel like this is a tag team going forward. What did you think?
Yeah, they posted on Instagram, this is the NXT's Next Dominant Tag Team?
Boy.
No. Wagner looked lame, just a bunch of basic crap like shoulder tackles and clotheslines and whatnot. His finisher is pretty mediocre as well, which, oh yeah, he's fitting in perfectly then. I'm just happy Dunn didn't take the pin because it's another blech match. They just don't wrestle on the show, and the tag matches I find more and more I watch, they get pretty formulaic.
They do. And it's, like, this match was decent, I thought. But again, the veterans in here who are actually good at this, they feel like an afterthought, right? They're not the focus. The people who can actually wrestle and are good, they're not the focus of this. So it makes sense to have Holland take the pin on his way out. Obviously, he's been drafted and they're just waiting for him to go. And I guess it makes sense for Wagner to get whatever he can out of pinning Ridge Holland. So I don't really think there was anything wrong with this match. It's just that nothing really seems to matter on these shows, right? No characters or stories really have any depth. When things move this quickly and so many people are introduced at once, and there's no time for us to get to know any of them. So all we know is that these people exist, and that's basically it. Any characters we once knew and cared about are now just there to prop up these new people that we don't really care about and don't seem to be getting any more developed for us. So I actually think Holland is actually pretty good now. So maybe there's hope for this developmental system because I'm trying to be positive, right? He came through this system, and I know you don't love him at all, but I think he's actually pretty decent at this point. And I mean, to be fair, it's not like he started in NXT. He was over in NXT UK for a bit, right? But so I thought the match was decent, but I'm just tired of like the guys that I really like and that can really wrestle just kind of being there, not really doing a whole lot.
Right, Pete Dunne is one of the prime examples because I love him and he can wrestle very much.
He can. So we go to Andre Chase University, and his lesson...
One of the only things I don't hate on the show.
His lesson is on ring awareness. He points out that he cost Odyssey Jones a match last week, saying that Jones should have put his foot on the ropes instead of sort of under them, and that basically Jones lacks the veteran skill to be in NXT.
Yes.
Reasonable.
Yes.
A student named Brandon this time. It was Steven last time. Now it's Brandon, who's basically like, isn't that illegal? And shouldn't that have been a disqualification? Talking about Chase shoving Jones' foot back in the ring. Chase says he doesn't give a bleep and swears and tells Brandon to get out and go hang with Steve in the dumbass room. What you think of this
I actually
segment?
thought the last bit was really funny.
When he just loses his...
I chuckled quite. He was like, I don't give up. And then he was like, why don't you go to the dumbass class? Like, I actually thought that was pretty funny. I thought this was pretty amusing again. It definitely has some potential, but again, they're just placing it so low on the card.
Right.
I have very little faith in them.
Right. It still gives me Drew Gulak vibes, which I don't hate it so far either. So on a show where, like...
I think he looks like Drew Gulak, and then, like, I feel like the segment itself is kind of... It gives me the Thatcher's can.
It's a little bit of both of those guys, yeah. So on a show where very little amuses me or entertains me, this kind of does. I'm not going to lie. I don't understand why anyone would enroll in his class, but this recurring thing where he's flipping out on a student every week when they make reasonable points, right, is kind of working for me, and maybe that leads...
I find it pretty funny.
Maybe that leads to them joining forces against him or something in the future, as this is seems to be a low card sort of gimmick. And that's what I think. The character will never ascend high in the card, right? But it's kind of entertaining, like lower mid card, whatever thing for now on this generally really bad show. It's something I don't dislike completely. So that's the bar we're at.
That's an accomplishment.
Right? Speaking of good stuff, Tony D'Angelo talks about his successful debut, and he gives some sort of a little bit of like sarcastic credit to Malik Blade, I guess, about remembering his name, without remembering his name. He then talks about how he was booted from lashing out due to, quote, a scheduling conflict, according to the producer, but he says he does things on his own time anyway. He says the producer is a nice guy, and then he walks away. So I guess it's important that he was cutting this promo while leaning against the back of his car, right? And then as he walks away, we hear we're led to believe the producer is stuck in his trunk just to fulfill another sort of Italian mobster stereotype.
Once again, this is stupid, not a great promo. And the like that would get him arrested in real life. Like, this,
well, yeah, but I mean that we can't really worry about in wrestling.
But I don't know. I still don't like this.
So this is our second abduction on this show, right? Like, how creative.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess it's not confirmed if Shanti's abducted, but
right. But the other ones were.
What?
Top Dollar and B-Fab were abducted.
Oh, were they abducted? I thought they just got attacked.
They were thrown in the car and taken away.
I must have missed them.
Yeah. So I thought this was pretty bad again, which is on brand for this D'Angelo character. And the other thing that annoyed me is a commentary immediately had to tell us that it was the producer in the trunk, right? Because this goes to show, I think this is the example of how unintelligent they assume the average fan is. He just talked about the producer. He just said the producer's a nice guy. And then we hear a voice in the trunk and commentary, I think that's the producer in the trunk. Like, just in case any of you idiots didn't catch it, right? So I find that insulting. And I don't know, live crowds seem to enjoy this guy somewhat. But again, I'm not... Are there plants there? Are they sweetening the crowd? I don't know. But I can't...
Yes and yes.
I can't stand anything about this. This is one of those characters that is embarrassing, right? If a non-wrestling fan walks in and sees this guy's segments, they're like, what are you watching?
And then you just can't even justify it. You just have to sit there and look stupid.
It's a throwback to an era that wrestling shouldn't be returning to, right? And I don't understand why they are. But they are. So then we get Duke Hudson versus Grayson Waller. So Waller gets a decent reaction from the crowd, right? And we kind of like him for whatever reason. I can't even pinpoint why I like him, but I do.
I just liked him from that showing he had against Strong. I thought that was really good.
Yep. So he gets a quick inset promo. He talks about being a boxer in Australia, and he says he's facing a poker player and he's all in tonight. So early on, Waller's using his speed to avoid the much larger Duke Hudson. We get an arm drag and an arm hold by Waller before Hudson throws him across the ring with an overhead belly-to-belly. Waller, with a big forearm, goes for a springboard, but Hudson kicks the ropes, rolls up Waller for the win in...
less than 3 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Imagine. Go ahead, talk about this sub 3 minute match again.
Another mediocre intro match. I thought the finish was really crummy. Cause like, Waller went for the springboard and like, so his feet are like kicking against the ropes.
Yeah.
But Hudson does the same, and somehow that trips him up.
Right.
Like, I feel like that would just launch him further, but it didn't like look realistic.
Right.
And then like it was just like a tight spin, which he didn't even like hook in that deep.
No.
And Waller dropped the Hudson, which I think should be the other way around, if anything. But that's just, I guess, logical.
So, and that's the thing. Like, you have a competitive match with Strong, and then you get killed in 2 minutes by Hudson. So, what are we saying about Waller?
It kind of undoes the last match,
right.
I guess.
So, another sub 3 minute match with a really lame finish, I thought. I like Waller, and I don't mind Hudson, but this was a waste of time. And Waller gets a nice losing streak going, I guess, is the point. Like, I don't know. I don't understand this show, basically.
Yeah.
Legado mock swerve for Hit Row's abduction, but Santos Escobar promises it's just them, as the rest of Legado will stay in the locker room. So I kidnapped your group, but my group's not coming down either, so we're even, I guess. Sure.
So then you can forgive me for kidnapping your
right.
faction.
And he does, because he's not real worried about it. He's got to defend his belt and not worry about his kidnapped friends. So Indy Hartwell and Persia Parada, right, I think?
That's just a terrible name.
They're in the back, and Indy kisses Dexter's cheek before Persia says they need to get to the ring. And then in between them getting to the ring, we get Imperium speaking. So Bartel basically...
Because they can't just go to the ring. It has to, like, be cut off by something.
It seems to be the new technique, right? Bartel basically hates MSK and that they're champions because they represent everything wrong with that generation. Imperium want the tag team titles, and the ring is sacred. What did you think of their little...
I thought it was a pretty solid promo, actually.
Me too.
I think they sound much better, more menacing in their language. I assume it's German, because I think Bartel is German.
Yes, Bartel's, and I think
I don't,
the other guy speaks a bunch of different languages.
I
could be wrong.
Is Italian.
Yes,
I thought he is, but I know Bartel is German, so that's my first guess. But,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the way this was shot too. I thought it looked cool, and man, they are both in crazy shape. Like Bartel has transformed.
Eichner's always been pretty good.
And Bartel has transformed his body significantly. I also like the subtitles and the non-English speaking. I think it adds to the intensity here. And it
helps them out a lot.
I would have no issue with these guys getting a run with the titles because, again, I say it all the time. MSK's title reign is like really forgettable to me.
And these guys were boring in their last one, like really boring.
Yes.
Like I almost forgot they were champions. But like, what other better option is there other than Grizzly Young veterans who are who are about to job to Braun Breaker? So
right, and I don't think MSK need the titles, and I think like it would really help Imperium's gimmick right now, right? That the ring is sacred and they're all about professional wrestlings, and now they have the titles.
Another thing is they already held the title, so give them the girls young veterans. But that's smart, so it will not happen.
Right. So I don't know. I would love to see these guys get the championships and run with them for a bit, because MSK, I'm kind of done with the MSK experiment, at least as champions.
They're decent in the ring, but like...
I feel like their matches seem very similar all the time, and I just don't think the belts...
I think a lot of the tag matches in NXT are formulaic, and I think they definitely fall into that trope a lot.
I don't think the belts add anything to them. Like, they would be no different to me if they were just out there wrestling as non-champions. They would just maybe be a little less prominent. I think those championships add a lot to Imperium's gimmick right now, right? So it makes a lot of sense, so it probably won't happen. We then get a tag team match. It's Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta taking on I'm So Sorry Saray and Amari Miller.
Oh my god, yes. Like,
already in the ring.
Doing Saray real dirty here, honestly.
And her timing of her signing is not great.
It's so awful.
Well, maybe appearing. She signed a while ago, I think, but appearing in anyways.
I mean, at least she got to do a bit of good stuff before this happened.
Have we seen Persia in the ring before? I feel like we haven't.
No, and after this, I don't really want to.
I thought she overpowers Saray early on, tags in Indy. We get a sidewalk slam by Indy and a corner clothesline. Saray with some strikes and kicks before she tags out, and then there's a series of kicks by Miller and a sleeper hold. Indy throws her. Persia comes in with a clothesline and snake eyes to Miller. We get a big boot and a fireman's carry. Indy tags in, Persia kicks Saray, then hits an F5 style like face buster that I thought was kind of cool.
Like a sit out, it was, yeah.
Yeah. Before Indy tags in for the elbow drop, I think it was to the back, and to pick up the win. And
her elbow drop's really bad. It's such an armpit drop.
Here's a hard question for you. They won in...
Less than 3 minutes?
Less than 3 minutes is correct. How did you know that? How could you possibly guess that?
I think I'm just really smart.
I think so too. What'd you think about this?
Barn
burner.
Yes. Oh, yes. It burned the barn.
Definitely.
It was bad, and it made me want to burn my barn. I don't know. It was mediocre at best. It was mediocre squash. Hartwell, and especially Pirotta, I don't think are that great. And Saray should not have dropped out here. I really don't like the Indy's finisher. It just doesn't look effective.
It's not... Yeah, have it as a signature move or in your repertoire, but
it doesn't even just look like an elbow drop. It just looks like she's kind of literally it's the armpit drop. Like, that's the technique to learn an elbow drop, or like to do as safe as possible. But if you're gonna do it like that, yes, don't have it as a finisher.
Yep. This was another nothing match. I feel really bad for Saray here. I thought Pirotta showed some potential as like a powerhouse. Like, I don't know how polished she is, but she's pretty strong and hit a couple impressive things here. So it's hard to tell in 3 minutes, but I think she looked better than some of the other new talent that's come through. Like, for example, B-Fab or...
Well, actually, I agree with NXT Creative, okay? 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes is a lot of time to showcase your new talent, okay? Because they got to showcase a lot of people.
What's Carmen Sandiego's actual name?
Jobber Del Fantasma. Electra Lopez.
Oh, yeah. So I think, like... I thought Pirotta looked better than B-Fab and
yes.
her, yes.
Well, B-Fab was awful.
So Persia gets on the mic after this, suggests a tag team title run.
They can make their own matches, right?
Only for Io to come out with Zoe, and Io is like just yelling screaming in Japanese, which I thought was awesome. It's one of my favorite things on the show, just her just laying into these women in Japanese on her way to the ring.
It was awesome.
I thought it was
just
great.
Like, it was so off the bat, too.
Io says she doesn't like them, and Zoe says, let me guess, you don't like me either. So Gigi and JC Jane come out because we only got Toxic Attraction once so far, so here they come.
And I haven't suffered enough yet.
Right. So they come out and say that they don't give a damn about any of them, and they just want the titles.
And not enough people had walked out yet.
And it turns into a 3-way brawl. Toxic Attraction have the advantage, but Io wipes out Gigi, and Zoe kicks JC out of the ring, and so our babyface champions sort of stand tall. What'd you think of the little post-match segment?
No, it was not good. I just don't like it, and I don't like the walkouts, and they're making their own matches again, and then also Toxic Attraction are back, and they had to speak again, which is...
This is the closest we get to a story, right? We're a tag team, and we want the tag team belts, and we're a tag team, and we want this. And sometimes that's all I need, right?
And not only are these two teams making their own match, one of those teams already lost to the champs, recently.
Right. Doesn't matter.
1 or 2 weeks ago.
Listen, if you walk out and say you want the match happens. Why is that so hard to understand?
I don't know.
There's no matchmakers. There's no authority figure. You just walk out and say, I want this match. And if it happens to be for a title, so be it. You get it. Right? So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I fear that Toxic Attraction are going to win this, and then Zoe and Io are just going to be lost in the shuffle because they're veterans and they're just going to be there to support the other talent.
They will get lost in the shuffle because they're good.
Or they'll get called up and then they're gone forever and they won't be used, and I'll lose interest. So I'm really, really worried about any veterans.
I literally cannot think of any actual tag teams on the main roster.
No,
so
they could walk right into a title shot.
Other than the chance, right? Exactly.
They just have to ask for one, if we know anything.
That's true.
So Waller is backstage and sort of hitting on Cora Jade briefly. Then he walks over and sits down with someone else. I didn't get were we supposed to know who it was? Do you remember?
No, it looked like some random.
And sort of says that they should go out. Grimes walks up then, I think after the girl leaves, and asks how come he's got so much game. Waller tells him he needs to sort of clean up a bit by shaving, managing his chest hair, etc.
And he also mentioned, it's like the classic, I have an accent.
Yes, that too. Waller suggests online dating apps and then goes to show Grimes one of them, and it's over. What'd you think? How much did you love it, and why is it a lot?
I thought this was really stupid. This is not the direction Grimes should be going. I don't know how he's prioritizing finding a freaking girlfriend over winning a championship in kayfabe, right?
Yes.
You could do that any other time. Why are you choosing
at work?
Right. Why are you choosing to do it the one day of the week you could be trying to win or go for titles? Why don't you freaking go to a club on the weekend? He's freaking rich. Just go to a freaking club. Right. Just make it rain. Honestly, you don't need to do this here.
So my notes are, I guess this is a story at least, question mark? They're trying something?
Yeah, because apparently Vince wants Grimes to change up his look before considering him for a main roster call-up.
Oh, there you go. There's a nice little nugget of information. So he's going to shave, wax his chest, cut his hair,
change everything that makes him cool and unique.
That'd be weird. So I like both of these guys, so I guess we'll see where it goes, but I'm obviously skeptical, so...
That's basically the only thing you can do here.
Then we get a little vignette where a guy with tribal tattoos is shadowboxing, tells us that his wins and losses come from the streets, and he's been on his own since 15 years old and was the street champion of the island.
I have also been on my own since I was 15.
So, sorry, who was this?
Solo. It's so his last name is spelled Sikoa, so I don't know if it's Sikoa or Sakai. Or
what did you think of the vignette for him?
I thought it was a fine little vignette. He looks decent. Kind of a generic backstory thing, but I don't know. We'll wait to see.
Yeah, it was just a little teaser, right? But my issue is that it's another new talent that's about to be thrust upon us when they can't find the time to develop the ones they have already. Slow down, take a breath. Maybe wait a little while to keep bringing out more and more and more new people. But anyways, they're not going to. So why would they listen to me?
Exactly.
We then get our, I guess, main event, which is Swerve Scott taking on Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship. North American Championship. One of those championships anyways.
It is North American.
Wait, wow. Who's the Cruiserweight champion? Kushida?
Roddy.
Oh, right. Wow. This is how much this show is memorable. Swerve attacks Escobar on the ramp, runs Escobar into the steps before the match even starts. The bell rings. Escobar escapes to the floor, but Swerve hits a Fosbury flop right away. Swerve removes the turnbuckle cover early on here and then hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. We get a JML driver is countered by Escobar into an arm drag. Swerve is run into the apron before Escobar hits a nice suicide dive, sending Swerve over the announce table. Escobar stretches Swerve's arms while stepping on his back before hitting a spinebuster and a running kick to Swerve's back. Back to that similar stretch. Swerve fights out of it. We get a strike exchange. Clothesline by Swerve to retake the advantage. We get some sort of rolling move countered into a flatliner by Escobar. Running knees in the corner. Top rope Hurricane Rana by Escobar. Frog splash as well for a 2 count. Basement dropkick. Swerve rolls onto the apron. Escobar is knocked off the top and crotched on the ropes. We get a pretty nice looking Death Valley driver onto the apron by Swerve. Escobar then gets his knees up as Swerve goes for a 450. And then the rest of Legado show up. It's like Escobar lied and said they weren't going to come, but then they did.
No.
So they're on the apron, but Carmelo Hayes, and Trick Williams show up and take them out. So Escobar leaps up, hits his head. He goes for some sort of diving attack. Swerve moves out of the way. Escobar hits his head, kind of, but not really. It didn't look great on the exposed turnbuckle that was earlier removed by
the actual
Swerve.
Turnbuckle connector.
Yes, the actual turnbuckle.
The turnbuckle hook. Yeah.
That is the actual turnbuckle. That's the buckle that turns to tighten it. That's literally the turnbuckle. Little fun fact. So Swerve then ends up hitting the JML driver for the win to retain the title. But wait, Carmelo Hayes attacks Swerve, and because this contract is apparently Money in the Bank,
he cashes in his Money in the Bank. Oh wait, he doesn't have a Money in the Bank.
Doesn't matter. He wants a match. He asked for it. This is why are you confused? If you want a championship match, even though you have very few credentials or reason, if you have the courage to come out there and ask for one, I don't even think he needs the contract. I think he should have just kept that and said, hey, I want a title match. And they've been like, okay, ring the bell.
Like right now.
Right. And keep the contract for later.
And he could use that to win another title.
So really, it's poor logic by Carmelo Hayes.
I think he should have, done that and then use this to get the women's title.
And
screw Mandy Rose
save it
for
the tag titles with Trick, right?
Because that's a priority.
We've seen like half a dozen people just ask for matches and get it. So I don't know why he's wasting the contract.
Yeah, you could just save the contract for or you just save it until he loses the title and be like, I want my title back.
Right.
No,
exactly.
I
want a rematch right now.
I would.
Cashing it in for a rematch now.
No way. He could just ask for a rematch and then there. Why is he? Yeah, he doesn't even need the contract. He could just ask for every title shot known to man.
So the match is going to happen. Hayes hits a springboard clothesline right off the bat for a near fall. Then we get a right hand by Swerve, a nice pump kick by Carmelo Hayes, and then basically the top rope leg drop to the back of Swerve's head.
The axe kicker. I think it looks really lame. I think it looked lamer here.
But Hayes wins and becomes the new, according to my notes, cruiserweight champion.
How did you...
I don't know. Who knows? I don't know things. So Carmelo Hayes is your new North American champion.
Now I really want to put you on off the top.
So that was a little bit of a swerve, right? No pun intended at the end of the show. What did you think?
That's cold, man. That's cold.
What did you think of the main event?
That's cold. You don't even do that ever again. I thought this was a solid match. I'm glad Swerve at least got one successful defense, but I'm also pissed because he's only gotten one now. I guarantee it's over 100 days, one successful defense.
Right.
And then he loses it in the same night.
Right.
Hayes catching is kind of cool, but the contract's not Money in the Bank, and they didn't do this last time with Jordan Miles.
And they didn't.
And
they never told us that when he won it. It was never
it was his assumption.
It was never you can cash it in any time. It was you've got a contract, but not anytime, anywhere.
For the next week kind of deal, which is what it was last time. And they never this. It felt like his assumption, but I guess good for Hayes for winning the title. But he should have cashed in for a title shot next week so we get a proper match. And also, again, this is not Money in the Bank.
Right. So I get it. A lot of this makes sense, right? They need to get the title off Swerve. And I don't think, as much as I love Escobar, they don't have any use for a guy like him in NXT in a prominent position anymore. I thought the match was pretty good as well. The finish with the exposed turnbuckles kind of very WWE, right? Because God forbid anyone get a clean win over anyone when it matters, sort of thing.
How dare you think that that's a possibility?
Right?
That's
I know.
Not possible.
So I thought it was a very good match, and it felt like it was like hearkening back to the good version of NXT, right? Where you're getting some amazing guys from the independent scene in a match on NXT, so that was nice to feel that
One
again.
Of them's leaving? Yeah, I thought so.
So I like Carmelo Hayes fine, but again, when did this become the Money in the Bank? But anyways, it was an interesting little wrinkle, I guess, to end this show. So overall thoughts?
I would say this is maybe the most tolerable episode so far. I'll give it a D+.
Ringing endorsement. I like you can't even be bothered to go recap the stuff, right?
No,
D+.
It doesn't deserve it.
Okay, so I think we got a decent opener with a new talent looking way too competitive against Ciampa, I thought. Then we get 3 sub 3-minute matches with sadly seem to be the hallmark of NXT right now. We got a fine tag team match and then back to 2 more 3-minute matches before a pretty good main event with a surprise title change. I thought Gacy and Toxic Attraction were basically repeats of what they always say. Lash Legends show was awful. The D'Angelo stuff continues to be a big miss for me. And Chase University was kind of a little bit of entertainment in the middle of all this, right? And I thought Imperium's segment was cool. So again this week, a chore to watch. Despite enjoying the main event, I can't give this any higher than a D, which is what I'm giving it. The writing on this show just feels lazy and aimed at children. Characters are one-dimensional at best, or 0-dimensional, basically, right? It's really hard to care about anybody right now. The veterans are only there to make the new talent look good. I feel really bad for almost everybody that's like an established performer at this point, because they're not going to get much time to shine at all. They're basically there as trainers and like to put over young talent. So I really can't see any established wrestler re-signing with this brand, right? Like maybe they won't be wanted, they won't be offered a contract anyways, but why would like Gargano or Dunn or Ciampa or O'Reilly, why would any of them, or Zoe
I don't
or
even
Io,
know why Dunn resigned.
why would any of them resign, right? But anyways, this show is pretty much garbage right now, and I try to stay positive, and the ratings seem to reflect it, right? The ratings are going.
Embrace the hate.
The best they can hope for is the ratings didn't get lower this week. Anyways, another bad show. It's a D. Don't watch it. Just let us talk about it for you. Okay. So that's going to bring us to a little bit of a break, and we'll talk some trivia in our weekly segment called Off the Top of His Head.
Yep.
All right, so we're going back to the WWE trivia deck that comes in handy when I don't have a lot of time to make my own trivia during the week. So here we are. We're going to do maybe 3 or 4 cards worth, all right? So, first question. Who defeated John Cena? Have you heard of him?
No. Okay. I don't even think I can see him.
He's a guy. He used to wrestle in jean shorts and bright t-shirts and stuff. So,
if you say so.
Who defeated him in his pay-per-view debut at Elimination Chamber 2015?
Kevin Owens.
Correct. Poor Kevin Owens. He needs to get out of WWE really quickly. Yes. Who won the first ever WWE Championship Scramble match at Unforgiven 2008?
Chris Jericho?
No.
Triple H.
Correct.
Okay, because I know Jericho won one, I think, at that event, but I guess it was not the first one.
How dare you? What was the name of the Mrs. Award show?
Mrs.
Yes, like the Dundies. When Shawn Michaels vacated the WWE Championship in 1997, he said he lost his what?
But I'm just kidding. He lost his smile.
He lost his smile. Oh,
my
poor
butt
you.
Fell off.
Who surprised John Cena at Hell in a Cell 2016 and defeated him for the United States Championship?
It was actually 2015, and it was Alberto Del Rio.
Wow, you're correcting the WWE trivia deck.
It was 2015.
Dare you? Are you sure?
I am 100% positive, actually.
I believe you.
Del Rio was probably gone by Hell in a Cell 2016.
It could be gone for good. Good riddance.
Plus, I remember Hell in a Cell 2016 I watched, and the U.S. title match was Roman Reigns and Rusev in Hell in a Cell.
He is
it was the opener. So.
10 pounds of garbage in a 5-pound bag, that man. So see you later. JBL and Big Show competed in what kind of match for the WWE Championship at No Way Out 2005?
Barbed wire steel cage.
Why would you know that so quickly?
Because I even know the finish.
Tell me.
JBL got chokeslammed through the ring, and he won by crawling under the ring outside the cage.
I feel compelled to say it sometimes,
because there's barbed wire on the top.
He has not seen these questions. He doesn't even know what I'm gonna the topic of anything before we start.
The encyclopedia book.
He just knows things. He's been reading WW Encyclopedia since what age? I don't know.
8 at least.
8 years old.
That was when I started.
So you've got a good 6 years of WWE trivia memorization.
That would be how long, yes.
What WWE superstar lost and won a WWE championship at No Way Out 2009? Lost and won.
No way. Oh, Edge.
Correct.
Lost the WWE title, won the World Heavyweight title.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, can you elaborate? Because I don't
remember. He got
remember.
rolled up by Jeff Hardy, I think, in the WWE title one, and then he beat up Kofi Kingston as he was entering to enter the World Heavyweight title one.
Amazing.
I think that was the match where Jericho and Mysterio hit a finisher parade on Cena.
Nice.
I want to say. But
which sole survivor from Team Canada went on to defeat Team
Whoa, this is not TNA, okay?
Team Authority at Survivor Series 2014.
Did you say Team Canada?
Sorry, Team Cena, not Team Canada. Team Cena
say,
went on to
Dolph Ziggler.
That is correct.
And that was Sting's debut too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Batista teamed with which legendary Hall of Famer to win the WWE Tag Team Championship?
Rey Mysterio.
No.
Oh, Ric Flair.
Correct.
I was gonna.
Because Mysterio wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame
no,
yet.
he's not.
How dare you? What former?
That was technically the World Tag Title, so.
What former World Champion returned to win the Royal Rumble in 2014?
Batista.
Too easy, right? Who returned to the WWE in 1989 as the Widowmaker? I know this one.
Barry Windham.
Correct. He sure did. Which two former horsemen were known in WWE as the Brainbusters?
Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson.
These are light work for you this week.
Yeah, you should keep going.
Mr. Perfect replaced which WWE Hall of Famer and tagged with Randy Savage at Survivor Series 1992?
Ooh.
That's a good one. Think about it.
Was it Bret Hart?
It was not Bret Hart. It was a babyface, an only babyface. He was going to replace Hulk Hogan, you know?
What?
And he's also a dirtbag of a human being. Or was. He has face paint.
Ultimate Warrior?
Correct. What two WWE Hall of Famers won WWE Gold as the Masked Executioners in 1976? Good luck. We're going to before I was born.
Terry Gordy?
No. Any chance you'll get this one?
Um.
Killer Kowalski and Big John Studd. So I'm going to go with no. Not much chance.
No.
They're getting harder, folks. Which legendary professional boxing champion stepped up to wrestle Big Show at
Floyd
WrestleMania
Mayweather.
24? Floyd, could I have his nickname, please?
Money?
Yes, thank you. Floyd Money Mayweather. One more card. What was the name of Chris Jericho and Big Show's tag team?
Jericho.
Right. Who defeated The Rock and Triple H in a triple threat match at Survivor Series 99 to win his first
Big Show.
WWE? Right. It's the Big Show theme. I've thrown in a couple extra W's there. WWE, only two of them. Superstars competed against athletes from which professional sport in Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2?
NFL.
Correct. Who defended the WCW Championship against Buff Bagwell on an
Booker
episode
T.
of Raw? Correct. The good old Buff Bagwell.
Yes.
His lengthy, distinguished WWE career that he had.
Yes.
Who celebrated his first pay-per-view win? This will be our last question. With a mouthful of worms. Who could that possibly be?
Boogeyman.
Correct.
Come to get ya.
The
I
Boogeyman
like the Boogeyman.
is right. So you absolutely dominated this week.
I like the Boogeyman.
Boogeyman was he a good wrestler? No. Was he committed and worked his butt off for a really bizarre character? Absolutely. So I respected the Boogeyman.
I have his only figure.
And he looked incredible, right?
Yes.
What
I
a
have
crazy
his
look.
only elite, and I'm proud of that.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, so that's
I lost the clock, which kind of sucks. But
normally we would transition into AEW Dynamite, but it does not exist at this point until later tonight.
At time of recording.
So we're going to move right into our next segment, which is any other wrestling business. So we're going to start out with talking about Impact Wrestling this week. You watched a little bit of it, right? You were kind of there for some.
I don't remember what I watched, but I'm sure it'll come to
me. I might refresh your memory, right, as I talk about it. So the episode starts with a recap of the main event from last week where Christian and Josh Alexander teamed up and defeated Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, as well as sort of showing us the returning Christopher Daniels, who's seemingly trying to insert himself into the Impact Championship picture. And then we go straight into an opening match, which is El Phantasmo with Hikuleo and Chris Bay of the Bullet Club facing Rohit, facing Willie Mack for a spot in the Bound for Glory X Division Championship match. So it's one of the triple threats leading to that. So I'm actually pretty excited for this matchup because if you listen to this, you know I love Rohit. I'm probably one of Rohit's biggest fans. I have found El Phantasmo really interesting in the brief time that I've seen him. And Willie Mack, I mean, he's never going to be a main eventer or anything, but he's pretty good in the ring. And this match especially, I thought, but let's get into it. So El Phantasmo is sent to the floor early, so Rohit and Willie Mack face off in the ring. We get shoulder tackles by Mack, followed by his wind-up slam. El Phantasmo's in, and he uses back rakes to Willie Mack, followed by some failed shoulder tackles that don't take Mack down. We get a step-up Hurricane Rana by Willie Mack before Rohit sends him to the floor. Pop-up forearm by Willie Mack to Rohit that looked pretty good. Springboard crossbody by El Phantasmo to Willie Mack. Phantasmo hits a dive to Rohit on the outside, then a nice top rope senton to Willie Mack for 2. ELP is then in the trio woe. Rohit hits his cannonball and a double stomp to Willie Mack's back. All three are then trading strikes and kicks until Willie Mack flattens both of the others with clotheslines. Mack catches an El Phantasmo crossbody, puts him in a fireman's carry, which was impressive, and then gets Rohit sort of at this time up on the top rope, so he goes and gathers him too. So he has them both sort of stacked up on his shoulders and delivers a Samoan drop to both at the same time, and then hits his standing moonsault to both of them for 2. Rohit tries to suplex Mac, but Mac just dumps Rohit face first onto the mat. Or sorry, it was a superplex attempt by Rohit, but Mac just sort of dumps him face first on the mat. El Fantasma hits an insecurity to Mac on the top rope, then a top rope Rana that puts Mac on top of Rohit. Splash by ELP to Mac for a near fall. Mac then catches El Fantasma with a super kick, lands a stunner, but the ref is distracted by the rest of Bullet Club, so Mac doesn't get the pinfall here. Mac then takes a moment to knock Bullet Club to the floor, dives over the rope onto both of them. This allows Rohit to hit his flurry to ELP, ending with a nice flatliner. He's got like this jumping flatliner. It's a simple move, but Rohit makes it look pretty good. Mm-hmm. We get a low blow by El Fantasma to Rohit, and then ELP hits his double underhook facebuster for the win in about 9.5 minutes. So I thought this was a really good match, and Willie Mack, honestly, which is the guy I was least interested in seeing, was the one that I think really stood out in this. He easily got the most time on offense here. The others look good too in the time they got, and I think El Fantasmo is really cool, but I think they need to put in some effort, giving him some time to speak so that we can sort of get to know him and his character, because so far he's just really wrestling. I don't know if he's said anything at all since being an Impact. But overall, a really good opening match for an Impact show. Then Gia interviews Ace Austin and Madman Fulton about Ace and Fulton being in a battle royal tonight. So it's a battle royal to get into a battle royal, right? Which I find a little bit silly.
I found that was kind of odd.
Yes.
I mean, the other one's, I guess, a Royal Rumble, but that's essentially just a different battle royal.
So the winner of this battle royal becomes the 20th entrant in the Call Your Shot match, Gauntlet, whatever it's called. And then whoever comes in second in this match has to come in first in that match. So that it's a little bit convoluted, but that's what's going on here. So Ace talks about things not being over between himself and Christian, and that Josh Alexander has kind of jumped the line for the title with cashing in his championship. So the Call Your Shot match could get him back on track, meaning Ace Austin. And he said being number 20 would basically double his odds of winning. Fulton says that he would like to be number 1 so that he can destroy as many opponents as possible one by one. Ace said he doesn't leave things up to chance. He makes his own luck. I thought this was a solid promo by both of them. It was almost exclusively Austin. Fulton really only said one thing. And I like, as a heel, that he feels Alexander's basically cut in line, and he feels that having Fulton in the Battle Royal really helps his chances as well, right? It's basically a tag team in an individual sort of match. I thought it was good heel work here, but I need Ace Austin to start getting some big wins because he needs to feel like a top-tier talent in Impact, and so they seem to be a little hesitant to really pull the trigger on him, but I hope he gets there soon. So we then get Savannah Evans with Tasha Steelz taking on Lady Frost. So we get forearms by Frost, but they have no effect on the much larger Evans. But her kicks finally do until Evan runs her over into the ropes, hits a corner spear and a double underhook suplex. Then it strikes and chops by Evans for quite a while. Really basic stuff here. Bear hug by Evans, but Frost escapes only to run into a boot from Evans. Samoan drop by Evans, and I put in brackets mostly, so clearly it was not the cleanest of Samoan drops probably. Evans then gets posted when Lady Frost avoids another spear. Frost lands a head kick and a spear of her own. Drop kick to Evans' leg, but Evans hits a big clothesline and a pretty weak-looking full Nelson slam for the win in 4 minutes. So Savannah Evans looks cool and really imposing, but she seems pretty limited in the ring to me the more that I've seen her. It's a lot of basic stuff and then a couple power moves. It kind of reminds me of like Persia Parada or something like that, you know what I mean? I know a couple power moves, but not much else, and I didn't think those power moves were super clean, to be honest. Lady Frost got a little bit of time on offense and looked decent, but I don't really think there was much to this match, so I wasn't a big fan. We then get Deonna Purrazzo and Matthew Raywalt. They come to the ring and Deonna speaks. She talks about being able to choose an opponent for Mickie James ahead of their title match. And Deonna has been impressed with Savannah Evans, and she basically chooses her to face Mickie James next week. Evans accepts. Deonna thanks her and leaves the ring. Storyline-wise, this makes sense for Mickie James, right? and Purrazzo, because in theory, Savannah Evans is this dominant powerhouse, and Deonna wants as much damage done to Mickie before their match, right? So that makes sense. Deonna's delivery was really good here as usual. It's just the fact that, honestly, Savannah Evans doesn't look very good, so I'm not going to get a great match between James and Evans, I don't think. Who knows? Maybe James can carry her, but storyline, it makes sense, so it's fine. Macklin then speaks, and man, does he ever. I almost wanted to sort of get you to go and watch this promo. So he says that people don't know much about him, and that's for a reason. He controls what we know about him, but he's going to let us in a little bit here. He talks about ribbon chasers chasing medals for the glory where he comes from, and those are the ones that gets guys like him killed, and it's the same here in Impact. People are trying to win the X Division title to go on social media to flaunt it, and that's weakness. At Bound for Glory, he will be the X Division champion to put a target on his own back, and that's not weakness, it's mayhem, and that's what he's in it for. Tag him and bag him and mayhem for all. I did not do this justice. I thought this promo was freaking awesome, and I don't know what the heck WWE was doing with this guy, but I've really enjoyed him in ring, and I really enjoyed this bit of character work. So he's subtly, which wrestling's not good at, including his military history here. He's talking about like people in the armed forces out for the glory, right? And behaving recklessly and trying to be heroes and putting other people at risk. So his hatred of the ribbon chasers and social media posers is appealing to me as well. I think that's a cool heel gimmick to work with. And his intense delivery was great here, I thought. So I had no idea that I was going to like Macklin so much. In fact, I was kind of like, I probably won't, because he didn't do much in a WWE, right? But at this point, he's one of my favorite talents on this show. His character and portrayal, like what he's doing right now, feel really new and fresh to me. And I like it a lot, and it's not clubbing us over the head with his military service, right? He's slowly letting us in on these things, and I thought this was awesome. And again, WWE missed the boat on this guy big time, I think. So I think this is one of the things Impact Wrestling is doing really, really well, is their build and presentation of Macklin. So Gia Miller, and I even think just adding to the subtlety, I think he's still undefeated in Impact, and they're really not like hitting us over the head with that or even mentioning it yet. So Gia then congratulates Gail Kim on producing a successful Knockouts Knockdown show. Gail mentions highlights like the tribute to Daphne and Masha Slamovich being signed to Impact. Rosemary and Havoc, of course, have to interrupt because that's all we know in Impact. So they talk about how they will be wrestling the Inspiration at Bound for Glory, and Rosemary asks Gail if it was a good idea to bring two innocent girls to Impact to face Decay. A random delivery guy shows up with a note from Sydney, Australia. The note is read by Gia, and it's basically from their names are now Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee. So that's the Iconics now, right?
I think Cassie Lee is Peyton Royce's real name, and then I think Jessica McKay is Billie Kay, so it's pretty close.
Good, they're going with the real names.
Pretty much.
So the note talks about how both of the Inspiration members were looking forward to wrestling Decay, and that it's an honor for Decay to be in the ring with them, and refer to their title opportunity as hard-earned, which I think is pretty funny, right? Like, they've literally never had a match in Impact or even really been there. It was
they
just
are
a vignette.
At least a credible team for this
I like
division,
this heel thing of it's a hard-earned title shot, right? The note said that if it wasn't read with an Australian accent, then it needs to be read again, but Gia refuses, which I thought was kind of funny too. Like, you don't mention that until the end of this, right? So Rosemary says that through wrestling the Inspiration, Decay will continue to bring their brand of chaos to the ring. So I thought the note was a little bit, had some amusing, funny bits to it, and it really did seem on brand for like what we know of the Iconics / what are they called now?
Inspiration.
Right. So that seems very consistent with the way they've presented last time we saw them. So I kind of like that. Because they are honestly...
They now can't use their Iconics catchphrase, which kind of sucks.
No, but they're more like humor than in-ring stuff, right? Like, they're more character work and just fun than a lot of in-ring work. But for me, what kind of took me out of this is Rosemary's acting is so over the top. It's like a bad high school production, so it kind of hurt this a little bit. But anyways, we then get VSK with Brian Myers taking on Rich Swann. So VSK lands uppercuts to start, a backslide by Swann, Death Valley Driver onto his knee by VSK that looked cool, and a body slam with a recoil splash for 2. So basically, He slams the guy so hard that it kind of causes him to bounce up, and then he turns that into a splash right away. It's kind of an interesting take on it. We get a running boot and a snapmare before an uppercut to the back of Swan's neck. Punches by Swan, a couple kicks, swinging neck breaker, and a splash, and then a Phoenix splash by Swan for the win in, guess how long if it were NXT?
Less than 3 minutes?
3 minutes. So weird, tiny little 3-minute match. I thought VSK's offense looked pretty good. He got a decent portion of this, but then he got pinned clean after only a few moves. I'm not entirely sure what the point of this was. There was no other developments with the learning tree and Brian Myers, because like the story has been that VSK is Brian Myers' like favorite of his little faction of whatever they are, proteges. So I don't know where this fits in, but anyways, it happened. Swingers Palace time. Swinger is still packing up the stuff because that looks like his casino is ending. Please, please, please let that be the case. Swinger says goodbye to his employees, including Bravo and Hernandez. One of the Swingerellas then takes the moment after being encouraged by Alyssa to go over and basically profess her love to Johnny Swinger. Swinger says there are 2 rules in the business: don't fall in love with a Rizat, and don't fall in love with the swingman, because Johnny Swinger is not a one-woman man. Alicia Edwards calls Swinger a monster. Chris Sabin shows up, talks about how he's really sad to see Swinger's Palace go, and then the other Swingerella apparently wants him to stay. Her name's Riley, but Sabin's love is wrestling, is the wrestling ring, and he has to go to Bound for Glory. So then he starts sitting and he puts his feet up and he's reminiscing about all the good times in Swinger's Palace as a bunch of quote-unquote, for me, highlights from Swinger's Palace play. So I don't know, man. This was a pointless waste of time. It's not funny. It doesn't further any stories. The interaction between Sabin and Swingerella came out of nowhere, I'm pretty sure. This really feels like Swinger's Palace is done, and that would be amazing. It has offered nothing, basically, in its time in existence. And I think there's room for Johnny Swinger on this show, but this isn't, because his character's funny, man, and he's really into it, but this is not the way to present it. So if it's gone, I'm totally okay with it. Heath walks into D'Amore's office. He's ready to sign his contract now that he's healed from his injury. Scott D'Amore agrees since he's a man of his word. He hands the contract to Heath. Heath asks him one more favor. He wants to face Violent by Design with Rhino as his partner. D'Amore says he'll do it, but does Rhino even want to be Heath's partner? Heath says he'll talk to Rhino because this is not the Rhino that we know. Heath signs the contract, thanks Scott D'Amore, and leaves. So Violent by Design lately have been made to look so weak. I just don't have any interest in this story. I'm not the biggest fan of Heath or Rhino either, so I don't think this was a bad segment, and Heath's doing a good job in this role. It's just not something I'm interested in, because to me, if you beat Violent by Design right now, that's not really a big deal. Most people are beating them in whatever combination. They talk a big game and then don't really deliver, so not super interested. Chris Sabin with Juice Robinson and David Finlay taking on Chris Bay, with obviously Hikuleo and El Phantasmo are here with them. So we get a lengthy lockup to start. Holds and counters showcasing the quickness of both of these guys. El Phantasmo gets on the apron. Bullet Club are sent to the back, which I kind of really like because we're going to get some one-on-one action here. Snap suplex by Sabin. Nice hesitation drop kick to Bay as he's hanging in the tree of woe. Elbow drop to Sabin, who's hanging over the second rope. Crazy twisting forearm to the back by Bay. He's just so quick and explosive. Top rope clothesline by Bay for 2. Vertical suplex by Bay. Then Bay has some head scissors countered with a kick and a nice running boot by Sabin. Rolling fisherman buster by Sabin was pretty sweet. Discus clothesline torture rack into a neck breaker by Bay was pretty good. Leaping leg lariat to the back of Sabin's head for a 2 count. Bay misses a top rope splash. We get 2 double clotheslines. Both men are down. Strike exchange as each is sort of calling on the other now. Jumping enziguri by Bay. Sort of catches Bay in midair as he was trying to leap to do something. And then Sabin hits the cradle shock for the win in 12 minutes. I thought this was a pretty excellent match. It got a pretty good amount of time for impact. But I'm not surprised considering the 2 guys involved in this. They're both incredible in the ring. Lots of back and forth action in this one. Several cool looking moves for both of them. Both of these guys are so fast and so clean at this point. I really like that Bullet Club were sent to the back so that these 2 could work without distractions. I thought this was an excellent TV match, and I'm always trying to recommend something for people to go see if they're not watching all of Impact. I think this match is, personally, it's worth going to check it out. Really good match. So Gia is now interviewing Trey Miguel about his chances in the X Division 3-way match at Bound for Glory. Miguel seems like he's starting to cut like a promo about his chances, almost like a Steiner Math promo, but he's cut off by Alex Zane. Zane says he understands all the hype about Trey Miguel, but he's not satisfied with that hype yet because he's only had one match with Miguel, and also Trey Miguel didn't really beat Zane because he beat Laredo Kid in the match they had. That's who took the pinfall, so that's his point there. Trey agrees that technically he didn't beat Zane, and he sort of assumes that Zane wants a one-on-one match. Zane seems to be agreeing with that, so that looks like where we're headed with this. I don't think Trey, some of the things he said at the beginning didn't make a ton of sense, or at the end, but I actually thought Zane was good in his role here. I haven't really heard him cut many promos. I thought he was pretty good, and I think it means he's a heel in Impact now. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like that's the route. And I think this was a fine way to set up a match between these two that I think should be really good, because I'm interested in seeing more of Zane. And Miguel, I have issues with him, but he still is pretty fun to watch at the end of the day. So we then get our standard the Black and White Good Brothers promo where Anderson... Oh,
I did see this. It was really stupid.
Yeah, this is what they've been doing because they're traveling with AEW, right? So it's kind of like, we can't have you forget about our tag team champions even though they're gone for months. So it just feels like those guys flip on their cameras and in one take, right? They just shill for their merchandise. They drop names of people they know. They hype their match at Bound for Glory, and that's basically all it was. So I don't like these segments either. It just feels kind of lazy that they're just allowed to do whatever they want. And hey, guys, just send us a little 30-second video while you're on the road, just to remind people you exist.
It's not like Tessa Blanchard last year where she just
didn't do anything, right? But yeah, these feel really just sort of like lazy segments. These guys send in a video and they put it on TV. So we then get what is technically an intergender battle royal in the main event.
Yeah, I did see. I think it was like Kimberly and what's her face in there.
Brandy Loren was in there, and a few others. Alicia was in there. There's a few other women in there as well. Rachel Eldering was in there. So that's the main event match. There is another segment after this. So again, the winner of this battle royal will be in the number 20 spot for the Call Your Shot battle royal, and the second place finisher in this one will be first, right? So again, a battle royal for a battle royal, which seems a bit interesting, but Moose eliminates Alicia right away because they've got a bit of a story going on there. I don't have too many highlights because this was standard, like the ring is full of people, punchy, kicky, right? Basically stuff. Swinger eliminates himself because he's afraid of Kimberly and Brandy Loren. The Learning Tree at one point catch Myers as he's about to be eliminated, save him, and put him back in, but he gets eliminated pretty much right after that anyways. Fulton throws Brandy Loren onto a crowd of people, and then at some point he got hit with mist. I didn't quite catch even when it was. So Moose, Fulton, Morrissey, Sabin, and Austin and Ace Austin end up being our final five, but a double boot from Moose and Morrissey eliminates Fulton. That was a little awkward, right? Because he was a bit too far from the ropes, and he just had to backpedal to the ropes and then still flip over them. It was a bit of an awkward elimination. So the three remaining heels are now ganging up on Sabin, as makes sense. So Morrissey and Moose throw Austin onto Fulton onto the floor and eliminate Austin. Moose ends up on the apron. Sabin hits a low drop kick to eliminate him. So Moose stays. He helps save Morrissey one time from elimination, and then he leaves. And basically, Morrissey eventually eliminates Sabin. It wasn't even ultra dramatic, right? He just kind of tossed him over the top, and that was it. So a really standard battle royal, not much of consequence happening. Honestly, the only interesting part of this was Sabin lasting so long despite facing two monsters on his own, basically, right? And having to wrestle a match already, a really good competitive match on the show. So that was the only story, was this little guy in a match that favors big guys who's already wrestled a really long match today, sort of going this long and showing his heart and guts. And then he'll
have to go to the distance.
Right, and that also, good point, puts him in the number one spot now for the Call Your Shot, right? So I hope Morrissey and Moose are going to use this for, if they end up winning the next one, right? They use it for a tag team title shot. But it also, if one of them wins, could be they're going to use it for a singles match and annoy the other one. But anyways, there's a lot of places they can go. But I thought this was a largely uneventful main event match, to be honest. But putting Morrissey, again, they're finding ways to protect this guy because he can't really wrestle. So putting him in 20th in the next one makes sense, right? Because he doesn't need a lot of time in the ring. No offense. I know you like him, but he's somewhat limited. We then get
unlimited. Boom, roasted.
We get a little vignette here hyping the Impact debut of Minoru Suzuki. Yes, please, I said. So then the main event, which you definitely watched with me, was Josh Matthews sitting down with Josh Alexander and Christian in the ring.
The main event.
Yes. So Matthews asked, sorry, this is a pretty lengthy segment here. So Matthews asked Christian how it felt to pin Kenny Omega for the Impact title on the first episode of Rampage.
I think it felt pretty awful.
Christian talked about his comeback from his 7-year retirement. He didn't come back to do Christian's greatest hits. He came here to be the best and win championships. He says the Impact title is dear to his heart because Impact got behind him earlier in his career when nobody else would. Matthews then asked Alexander what his thought process was behind cashing in option C. Alexander says that the X Division means a lot to him, especially after his run as a strong tag team wrestler. And wrestling Chris Sabin, possibly the greatest X Division champion ever, gave him that push to go to the main event and to invoke option C. He said it's difficult to give up the title, but the world title is much sweeter, and he has no regrets about giving up the X Division title. Matthews then talks about Christian and Alexander both being Canadian and both fighting through career-ending injuries. Matthews asked Christian if he sees a bit of himself in Alexander.
Which I didn't like, because he literally just pointed out something that he could see, like, for himself, so it's like...
setting it up.
He literally just gave him examples.
Right. Christian said he sees hunger and passion in Alexander and knows that Alexander has been overlooked. But that's where the similarities end, because Alexander will find out that nobody compares to Christian because he's a ring general, and he doesn't mean any disrespect to Alexander, but he's basically not in his league. Matthews then asks Alexander if he sees any of himself in Christian. Alexander talks about growing up close to where Christian did, and he agrees that he's looked up to Christian his whole career. Alexander feels that he's the wild card at Bound for Glory because he knows all of the cards Christian is going to play, being a lifelong fan of him, basically. Matthews asks Christian how he's approaching this upcoming match differently from other matches. Christian says he's been in this spot before, and that Alexander's issue is that he lets his emotions get the better of him. Bound for Glory is sink or swim, and when they get into the deep waters, he's going to learn that Christian's a really good swimmer. He said he's a fan of watching...
I too am a good swimmer.
He's a fan of watching wrestling too, and he has followed Alexander's career since Alexander won the tag titles. Matthews then calls out Christian for saying he knows Josh Alexander, and they go back to a clip. I thought this was a nice touch from an AEW press conference where the fans said they wanted to see Christian face Josh Alexander as a dream match, and Christian says, I don't even know who that is, right? So Christian lets out a nervous laugh and said, oh, he was just kidding about that. And Alexander said Christian was either lying then about not knowing who Alexander is, or he's lying now about following his career when earlier he said that he didn't even know who he was, right? So I thought that was a good point as well. He said he's lost a lot of respect for Christian, and Christian's going to find out at Bound for Glory what happens when you face the walking weapon. Alexander then marches out of the ring to the back, and Christian sort of ends the show by saying that his point is proven and that Alexander can't keep his emotions in check. Did you have any thoughts on this?
I thought it was fine. There's some where it's like, I didn't like that, like, he literally gave examples of like, oh, this is how you're similar. Do you see any similarities?
Here's how you're similar. Are you similar?
I thought it was fine. I like the touch with the press conference as well.
Yeah, me too. I've enjoyed the build to this match and the dynamic between like these. They're both technically baby faces, but it feels like each one really thinks that they're better than the other one, and they kind of can't wait to prove it, right? They both have a little bit of edge to them lately, even though they're kind of baby faces still. And it makes it feel like an important match and that the championship really matters. So the tone of these interactions between these two, I think it's been excellent. And it always feels real to me, which is one of my favorite things, right? So the clip of Christian denying knowing who Alexander was really well used here and does fuel Alexander, right? Like now he's like, oh, you don't even know who I am? Like, so all this is just BS about respecting me and whatever. In one sense, you're lying, in one case or the other, right? So I like that that's pushing Alexander a little bit further. I thought this was a really good segment, and it helps to build to this match that I'm really, really hoping, and I think that's what we're getting, that this is the coronation of Josh Alexander, of the face of this company, right? When they're putting this much work into building this, I really think it would be a mistake to have Christian retain here. And I don't know what you do with Alexander after that, right? So I feel like we're getting what I want.
Monster run.
I think we're getting what I want, and Alexander wins this, which would be awesome. So overall, I quite like this show. Highlights would be the opening three-way match, the excellent Sabin Bay match, and the main event segment with Alexander and Christian. The lowlights were the Swingers Palace segment, of course, the Good Brothers promo, and Rosemary's acting. Still, overall, the good outweighed the bad. I felt like this was a B-plus show because I was mostly entertained and it wasn't too much of a chore.
Right.
And then the only other thing for any other wrestling business I wanted to talk about was I quickly checked out a little bit of Rampage. So I actually watched more of the, the buy-in than the actual show, because the buy-in had Bobby Fish pinned Lee Moriarty with a head kick, and I honestly really liked this match, and I thought Bobby Fish looked awesome. He looked like, it was kind of like a relentless, varied attack, like designed to stop Moriarty, who's like really quick, right? I thought Fish looked like a killer in this match, and I really liked it. I also watched Punk Sydal, which was the opener of the actual Rampage, and they got a lot of time. It was a good match. I don't think it was great. Sydal got plenty of time in control of this match, and the crowd was like super into it and really into CM Punk for sure. And then we watched just before coming down here, right? On the it was on the buy-in show too, so free on YouTube, was Minoru Suzuki taking on Daniel Bryan, and I think I liked it more than you. I pretty much loved this match. You thought it felt kind of formulaic, but that is the sort of Japanese strong style. I just love those sort of delayed, lengthy, slow, like their strike exchanges and calling each other on to just keep kicking and chopping each other, and just little things that Suzuki does. His facial expressions, I think, are among the best I've ever seen. When he escapes a hold, it looks like he's actually escaping. Like you can kind of see him thinking about how to get out and sort of implement it. And also when he barely kicks out of a pinfall, it really looks like he's barely kicking out of a pinfall. So I thought this match was awesome. I really got into it and quite enjoyed it. What did you think of it? I don't think you liked it as much as I did, but I almost
Suzuki?
loved it. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good, but I mean, it's always the strike exchanges with Suzuki. Like, I know it's strong style, but like, I would like it if he changed it up a bit. Like, I feel like it was almost the exact same with Mox.
Yeah, it felt like the match was...
It was good. It was good.
It felt like the story they told was a match where they know they pretty much have to kill the other guy, right? And that they're going to try and do that. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it. But I think that's going to bring us to the end of any other wrestling business, right? And move us into our final segment every week, which is Jack talking about the world of wrestling action figures and whatever's new in a segment we call Figuring It Out with Jack.
Yeah, and we only have one thing.
Oh, nice. Yes. Late work today.
Yes. It's just, we got some package images for AEW's Unrivaled Series 7.
Yep.
So we got the Young Bucks from Full Gear 2020 last year. Purple Yellow Gear, when they beat FTR.
Nice.
Yes, that match.
Yep.
So that looked cool. Nick and Matthew Jackson.
Heard of them.
The Nick Jackson, I think they just reused the Series 1 head scan, which I don't think they've reused yet since
right.
Series 1, and then, it looks like the same Series 1 head, but like, I can't tell what the hair, so I think it's a reuse of the Series 1 head, but I can't tell if he has a ponytail or not. And then the Matt Jackson is a reuse of the Series 3 head, just with I think it's definitely a darker beard.
Nice.
And then we also have FTR from All Out 2020.
Cool.
Which it shows them from Full Gear 2020 on the back photo, but it says All Out, and these are from All Out, and red and white gear. So this would have been from when they captured the tag titles from Omega and Hangman.
Do you have any FTR figures?
I have a battle pack.
Right.
From WWE.
Right.
So yeah, we have Harwood and Cash Wheeler. We also have Lance Archer, who looks pretty good in like a black and red attire from Double or Nothing 2020. So that's from his match with Cody Rhodes in the TNT title tournament final.
Right.
And then we also have Nia Jax in a
Yay.
black and gold, or sorry, Nyla Rose I meant.
Okay.
Why do I keep saying Nia Jax?
I don't know. Because she's your favorite wrestler.
Yes.
For sure.
In a black and gold gear from Dynamite, February 12th, 2020. And then, of course, you have the Chase variant, which is one of 5,000. That'll be Nyla Rose in an orange and black gear. There's a bit of, I think it's orange. The entrance gear is definitely orange, but the knee pads, it looks red, but I think it's just a dark orange.
Nice.
That's from Revolution. I think that's when she defended against Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
Revolution 2020, that is.
Yeah.
And then you also have Lance Archer for the one of 3000 rare variant. He's in like a red and silver gear from Dynamite October 14th of last year. He should have a handlebar mustache on the face, but it doesn't.
Everybody should always have a handlebar mustache, okay?
Yeah.
It's mandatory.
That is it.
That is it.
That is it.
That's going to bring us to the end of a slightly truncated version of our flagship show. Again, we will be talking about some AEW Dynamite. We'll probably get that posted up there tomorrow. Hopefully that's a cool show. I'm looking forward to the AAA tag team match and seeing who Andrade brings in.
I've heard it's going to be
who?
I forgot. It's Sin Cara and someone.
Oh, really?
I heard.
That could be good if it's botched for you. We'll see.
Who is it? I don't even know if it's. I think it's original Sin Cara. It's Caristico and someone. So who's Sin Cara?
So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll probably be back on Monday or Tuesday to talk about Ring of Honor 526. I've been doing those solo missions that seem to be getting some listens from some people. And then we'll definitely, there's no pay-per-views or anything happening, right? So nothing special we need to do this week, I don't think.
No.
So we'll be back with episode 66 of this show next Saturday. We look forward to seeing you back there. And until then, take care.